Hey everyone, welcome to Growing with Fishes podcast. We do this podcast every week to help promote aquaponic cannabis growing as well as aquaponic growing and cannabis related issues. This week we have OldFartGrows. They've been with us once before, and he's here to talk to us about extracts and some home edible recipes and a couple of other cool things. We also have Fish Ganj Guy, Marty, and Roger as always. Thanks to everyone for joining us.
You're welcome.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Glad to be here, sir. Thanks for the invite.
Hello, hello.
And
Great to be here.
thanks for everybody. Just a reminder, Marty and I will be teaching the aquaponic cannabis class this weekend, on both online and at Ouroboros in person at Ouroboros Farms. If you're interested, check out ouroborosfarms.com for the cannabis class, and then check out Potentponics under the shop section for the online class, depending on whether or not you're in the Bay Area. It is located in Half Moon Bay, California, just outside of San Francisco, about 30 minutes. Be sure to check it out if you are interested. It's Saturday the 19th and Sunday the 20th. Alrighty.
I'll be there.
Yeah, he'll be there. Alrighty. Thanks for joining us again. What do you guys want me to call you on here? I guess we have.
Yeah, anything.
Okay, so we have Tommy and Dorian from OldFartGrows, the dynamic duo, and they're here to talk to us about all different kinds of extracts, the upsides and downsides of different stuff, and kind of why the first off, they brought up a really cool topic to me the other day about how a lot of the butane and CO2 stuff out there is really toxic to the to people that are taking it in, and how there's a lot of unaddressed things, and they want to talk a little bit about that, and then they were going to talk to us a little bit about some easy ways to make some home edibles and stuff like that to do at home. So thanks a lot for joining us today, guys.
Hey, thanks for the invite. Well, you know how passionate we are about having good quality medicine and stuff, and some of our familiarity with the different extract methods. It's kind of scary what's considered standard practice, and a lot of people are using, butane for BHOs. That seems to be about the most popular, and then the second most popular behind that seems to be the carbon dioxide. And without getting excessively technical, I'll talk about a little of the carbon dioxide, why you might not want to use it, and then D is very familiar with the problems with the closed loop systems and using pumps, and maybe he'll pick up the ball after that. And if you have any questions about any of those things, groovy, and then I guess we could then go on to alternatives. And so something that's happening pretty often in the industry is a lot of people are going to this CO2 extraction, and there's a lot of buzzwords that sound absolutely awesome when you talk about CO2. Hey, it's CO2. How bad can it be? Well,
Just a sec. Is anyone else experiencing Tommy breaking up a bunch?
No, seems good here.
No, it's just me.
No, I'm
He's breaking up a bunch for me. I just want to make sure it's not for everyone.
okay, thanks. So with the CO2, it sounds great, like, carbon dioxide's in the atmosphere, it's not going to kill you, our plants love it and everything like that. And first and foremost, it's not hydrocarbons, it's not going to blow up. Well, yes and no. The pressures that you're dealing with for CO2 can be up to 10,000 pounds per square inch. And when you're dealing with those kinds of pressures, you damn skippy better be good. One of the things that I see kind of happens around the cannabis industry is sometimes people have a process going and they stop to have a dab or they stop to do a bong, and we're 15 minutes over on this or the other thing, and that can really cause problems. As if the problem with the CO2 doing a relatively poor job, I mean, there are things that do worse, but relatively it does a poor job of getting you cup-winning extracts. And that's because CO2 doesn't have a real liquid state. And so it goes from a solid sublimates, so it turns directly from a solid into a gas. What you need for high quality extraction is the molecules of your whatever you're extracting really, really close together in a liquid form. So what they do is they pump up the pressures and change some of the temperatures to force CO2 to become what's called supercritical, which is basically it's becoming a liquid. And the problems are it's so hard to control the temperatures, and in no time you can wind up having CO2 be either polar or nonpolar. And basically what polar or nonpolar means is think of like a magnet. And if some of the things that you want in your plant are magnetic, you would use a polar solvent. And if some of the things you wanted to get out of the plant were non-magnetic, you would use a non-magnetic solvent. So that's just a really loose way to kind of think of the polar stuff. Well, the CO2 is just ridiculously hard to control, which is why if you've had BHO extracts or if you've had cold press extracts, you just kind of find that, yes, the THC is high in a CO2 extract, but it just doesn't have the taste. It'll get the job done. It's just not going to be that, oh my goodness, isn't that delicate? Oh, I can taste, the good growing process in there. And the biggest problem with the CO2 when people are thinking in terms of, well, it's not poison. Well, yes, it is. If you take butane, BHO, which is one of the most common extractors, people will do it with the blasting cans with all the oils in it. They'll do it with a purified butane or anything like that. If you have leakage out of the system, think like anal leakage. That's always bad when your medicine, has the disclaimer, oh, may cause anal leakage. This is much worse. 6% concentration in the air of butane is going to screw up your whole day because anything that sparks is going to blow you out of the lab. 4% concentration in the atmosphere of carbon dioxide you're not getting out of the lab. And so it's actually quite dangerous. And when you're doing CO2s to finish the process and stuff, you actually need to use some of the flammable solvents and stuff to really get things done right. So you've just increased your expense. You've put things at up to 10,000 pounds pressure, which can blow your frickin' head off. Or if something's just leaking out of a part of the equipment and you put your hand past it like a steam pipe, putting out a high pressure steam, you can sever things. So it's really super crazy dangerous, and you don't honestly gain anything in quality, and you don't gain anything in safety. And so
and you lose in consistency. You lose in consistency compared to other systems.
It's so hard to control it, and there are methods, and we'll eventually go into like methods you can do at home. But if you're looking into the industry, it might behoove you to learn other ways of getting your extracts that are safer than that. And I'd like to kick it off to D and let him talk about the two different styles of extracting. Let's say you're using some kind of solvent like a butane or something. There's passive extraction techniques, and then there's closed loop active extraction with pumps. And if we can all get together, and if we find somebody who's using the pumps, just beat the snot out of them and let them know some of the information D will share, I think everybody's going to be safer. Everybody's going to get better meds in the end. And so D, you want to pick up on the pumps and the differences between the passive and active stuff?
Certainly. Well, first off, one of the benefits to having a passive butane extraction is you're only running the butane through the plant material once. And what that lets you do is dial in how much butane you need, how long it'll take, how long to put it through the column. And if you're using a pump system, a closed loop, running the butane through the plant material multiple times, you'll most likely not only be pulling out all of the THC and other cannabinoids that you are looking to get out of the plant, but but you'll also be pulling out a lot of the waxes and things in higher quantities comparative to the THC than you would if you dialed it in more accurately using a passive system. So you end up with a less pure, just inherently end product. Am I still on screen? Okay, good.
You're
End
good.
product than you do if you're doing it passively. But the real issue comes in with the pumps. You see, all these closed loop systems, the only pump on the market that they can use is something called a refrigeration reclamation pump, a refrigerant reclamation pump. And these pumps are designed to be used with non-food grade refrigerant. And so what happens is with the refrigerant, it has its own
Lubricant.
oil or lubricant built in to the refrigerant itself. And so the
Right.
pumps are designed to take that into account. They have no lubricants in them at all, no oils or anything. That's why they're used in the first place, is because they're clean. They don't have any lubricants to drop into your oil. But they do have a little bit gap in there for the pump to accept the lubricant. And when you don't have any lubricant, you've just got a gap, and that's constantly leaking butane in small quantities. And also, when you're pumping, it heats up because it doesn't have its proper lubricant. And these pumps are made out of generally lead coated in chromium. And that will melt and fuse together, stopping your pump from working. And keep in mind, this is your pump metal melting while working with butane. And I don't know about you, but that doesn't seem like a good idea to me. I don't want molten metal in my butane mixing in a lab. That's a recipe for disaster.
I was going to
And
ask
then
if
also,
that process caused heat.
Go ahead.
You answered that question. It does cause heat by recirculating like that. So, okay. Sorry.
It can
yes,
seize,
the
yes,
real problem is
seize and
the
ignite.
lubricant, lack of lubricant.
Yeah.
And so the pumps will actually seize up. They'll fuse together, yeah. And another thing that'll happen is in depending on the design of the closed loop system. Now inherent in the closed loop system is this pump that'll drop chromium and lead into your end product. But also, depending on the system, you can have your oil that you're extracting splash onto parts of the pump, and that can actually eat away at the metals even faster. So you'll get pockmarked internal parts of your pump. And this is all studied stuff. I'll actually, as soon as I'm done talking, I'll see if I can find the paper on it. I'll link it in the chat so that you can do your own reading in your own time, because the things we bring to the table, we like to have actual research on them. None of this like, oh, yesterday I threw this together and it made me really high, so therefore it's the best thing ever. No, we want like real research, and that's kind of how we try and work on this. So these pumps just unanimously in the closed loop systems drop nasties into your end product. And these issues have been brought up in the industry. And basically, since it's generally done under the radar, it's not regulated, this, that, and the other thing, nobody cares. The people who make the refrigerant reclamation pumps don't care. They have been told or suggested or asked to stop selling to the marijuana industry because of the obvious dangers, and they just don't care because people from the industry keep buying and they keep putting it on their website. And so anybody using a classic closed loop system with a pump, danger. So
They need to
that's
stop.
that.
We need to stop.
Yeah, needs to stop.
They're-
We're poisoning people, and that's
they're
not
killing
okay.
their customers, and they run the risk of blowing their asses up.
Oh, and not to mention these heavy metals, when you smoke them, cause like headaches, nausea, things like that. And these can easily be mistaken for the effects of whatever you're smoking. And so people don't even realize they're being poisoned. That's just wrong.
Yeah, that's true across the board. A lot of people don't realize what they use as a vessel, or what it's smoking something, or what they do that can cause actual get you high, kind of, but it's really you're being poisoned. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly, Roger.
Right. And, the information should be out there, like, and I think maybe there's, obviously there's a need that needs to be filled as well. I think that, in addition to, consumers needing education, there needs to be a professional option for the industry to have too. Like right now, if there's not, like you're saying, there's not really another option, then,
Well,
the
there
information, needs to be out there so that, somebody who does, we already had somebody on the show, what was that, last week or the week before, from a shipping company that took advantage of an opportunity that came about from the cannabis industry. And, it sounds like we need the same thing to happen here from an industrial company to step up and make a pump that will fit the needs of the industry, and then, make a bunch of money.
There's an easier solution, and it's cheaper, and it's more effective. It gets you higher yields. It's ultimately safer. It's running at pressures of under 125 psi. I mean, that's basically the kind of pressure that you're holding your pee at. We're talking real low pressures here, and
That
that's
sounds
the
almost
passive,
too good to be true.
passive
Roger.
systems. So a passive system, the difference between a closed loop system and a passive is a closed loop system. You're a cheap bastard and you're running your solvent through multiple times. The way to avoid this is you run a 3-to-1 or preferably a 4-to-1 load ratio. So if you're running a kilo of plant material, you run 4 kilos of your solvent. And then you move through the column and from solvent tank to solvent tank by heating the solvent up in one side and then throwing dry ice or whatever in the other. And there's 0 pumps. It's faster, it's cheaper, it's not running at the same pressures, and you run 0 potential of introducing any of the cooties that we've talked about. It's going to cost you more, but you're so much safer. And more importantly, the people who are, being so kind as to give money to your family for doing this work, you're not poisoning them. Keep your customer around longer is what we think.
How is it cheaper but costs more? I'm just curious. That kind of threw me a little bit.
Sorry. You need some more. You're going to need better designed tanks, not the crap that's out there.
Oh, maybe original setup costs more.
Correct.
Right.
Your machine is going to cost more, but it's going to save your ass. And if you do a bomb grip in between one step or the other, you're not going to pay with your life for it. And, what happens is, like, somebody's kind of going along and they're trying to do things on the cheap. I think as, some people are a little bit older, we need to, like, let them know, hey, spend a little extra money, get yourself a system that can do passive. You can build these yourself too. And then also you want to make sure you're not using the rubber gaskets. There's certain kinds of gaskets and stuff you want to use also. But once you have a passive system and you have your solvent, you get to keep it. You're not constantly losing it through a pump. You're never running the risk of blowing up because you're going through a pump. And you can dial things into a gnat's ass. And that's how you win a cup. Not just by like, wow, that batch came out good or this batch came out good. You can hit your mark every flipping time with a passive system.
I popped that link up into the chat. I may have scrolled past it by now, but there is a link in the chat for an article on what I just spoke of.
So that's kind of our soapbox on the systems that are out there. And I'm not naming names, but you recognize them with the orange signs and everything. And all the YouTube people are all excited because they got, an extraction system for $1.380. And it's just freaky dangerous. And then with that attitude of where people say, hey, this is just the way I do it. It works for me. But if you're doing something else that works for you, we need to stop that shit right now. If somebody's doing something else that's dangerous to them and we love them, we need to say, you're being a dumbass. and let's get them the real information, turn them on to a passive system if they're going to be doing extractions. Or what happens is very often the home user sees that they can get into a closed loop system for really cheap, and they're just trying to do like, oh, this one's $400, this one's $350. I'm buying the $350. Well, what did you give up for $50? So our other side of this is, if there are people that have some stuff laying around the house that they want to turn into medibles, there's some old school, ridiculously cheap methods. You're not going to be able to put it on a nail, mostly like for eating, or you can also get your, it's mostly for eating kinds of stuff. But, if you're home and you're trying to do it yourself, you're usually trying to stretch your molecules of THC as long as you can. And if that's what you're after, eating is really the best way. And we're looking forward to doing some online videos or teaching some classes as we get a little steady about doing things like extraction into coconut oil. There's so many scientific reasons to do it. It's easy, nobody dies, and if you only have a little bit of money, there's no better way that we've found to date to stretch your money further if you don't have tens of thousands of dollars to invest in equipment. If you're just at home taking care of a loved one, and you can only get so many ounces of stuff, and you want to make sure that person's pain is taken care of as much as you can, a cold vacuum or a sealed extraction directly into coconut oil for roughly 8 days at low temperatures in the neighborhood of like 118 degrees will make some stuff that you put a spoon of that oil in your mouth, in 40 minutes, you can't find your ass with both hands. So if people, and that's what, there's a lot of people, they just want to get high and they want to do it as cheap as they can. I think we need to let them know, yes, here's a way you can do it. You'll get blasted. And no matter what, no matter how high you are, you're not going to kill yourself or your family who's in the next room. People run this stuff in their garage. The kids are in the playpen in the next room.
We need to make sure that we never allow anybody to do this in a damn room. It needs to be done outside. It needs to be outside and extremely air. If you're anywhere near like something, you need extreme evacuation like you would for a greenhouse.
Yeah, if you have a good flow hood in your lab, you can absolutely do it indoors, but it has to be safe. Just like
Steve, that's not true.
Oh, really?
If you're running in the lab,
okay, so let me explain it this way.
You have to run positive pressure through the lab.
Yeah, in Colorado, they run them in the indoor labs, but it's in a separate room that has the whole ceiling is a vent hood that's sucking air at a pretty incredible rate.
More often, you're blowing air into the room.
Yeah, you're blowing air and sucking it out at the same time.
Yeah. You don't want anything electric on the tail. And once you're in the butane zone, you can have nothing electric from the butane zone on, because you can spark. You can force air in, and that's the best way to set up a lab is you're forcing air in and it just vents. That's mostly what people do. If they're not doing that, you're scared.
No. But I'm saying is they're pumping air in through the bottom, and then they have the outtake at the top, and they're pulling it through.
That's the way.
Yeah,
that's the way. Yeah, just set up a couple can fans.
You actually a couple can fans, and you're getting a couple can fans would not work. That'd definitely blow you off the roof.
The best way to do it.
Do not. In other words, no one, unless you're a business or got a shit ton of money, can afford to buy the filtration system you need to grow or to do this process.
You should be doing it outside. Yep.
So we get back to where we were. You got to in a big giant. If you got a hood, you could do it in a place with shade, but it better be open on both ends. And you need to have you need to be doing it where you got a big fan sucking it away from you.
No, you want
blowing
not sucking, blowing. A blow job's always better.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, we just got to that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Positive pressure.
Positive pressure, correct.
Yeah, it's not like you're doing when you're doing with peat moss, you want it to be sucked through the fan. But yeah, with oil, yeah, I guess with gas, you'd want it blowing past you. You're right, away from you. So
6% in the atmosphere is going to blow scary. So by having positive pressure, and actually, if you're setting it up, you want to blow the air in from the top, and you want your vents on the bottom because butane sinks. So you don't want to try and suck a concentration of these molecules off the floor through the ceiling. You want to blow through the ceiling and let it escape naturally through the floor. And people don't know this stuff. I'm not trying to be
I'm just
weird.
explaining what I've seen in Colorado. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it has people, if you did have it above you,
I know.
you could say that residual would be floating in the air. So that makes sense too, maybe, especially if it's proven that it's heavier than air and it's going to fall.
Oh, it is. It is.
So,
it falls.
Yeah. So you have to have a downdraft system.
Correct.
That's one of the reasons when you have gas leaks in houses that they take a while to explode. All the gas sinks and collects at the bottom until it reaches the level of a pilot light, and then boom.
Boom.
Well, thanks, Growing.
You guys know why there's a smell? The sulfur is added to natural gas. Do you guys know why?
Yep. So you know it's there.
So you can actually
Do you know
tell.
what event? Do you know what event started it? There was in Texas. They used to give natural gas for free to schools and municipal buildings, and there was a school that had a leak in the basement. No one smelled it, and it detonated and ended up pretty much, killing all the most of the kids and the family in it. And back in the early 1900s, like 1912, 1920s, 19-teens, 1920s, something like that. And after that. Yep, and then after that, they added that smell to it so that they could tell, if it's leaking now, because humans can detect sulfur as low as 2 parts per million, or it's super super low.
Yeah, it's because it's stinky.
Smells like your uncle's fart.
Well, no, because it cues in on rotten meat. Actually, will give off sulfur. So it's a food thing that we're evolved to smell.
Mm-hmm.
Just like my uncle's fart.
Kind of like when you run out. There's David. Kind of like when you run out of butane or propane on your camper. You can smell that, or your gas stove. You can smell that out of fuel. You get that smell right before it's gone.
But all of the solvents supposed to. I mean, if you're not using this, you should actually be spanked. But all of the solvents, the butanes and the propanes and everything that we use in extraction are 100% smell-less. You cannot tell that they are odorless. They're almost like inert gases. I mean, they're just basic, carbon compounds. So there's nothing there to stimulate your olfactory stuff. So it's even worse in the lab, because if you're using good butane for good extract, you cannot smell it, which is why your methodologies have to be perfect, because you can't tell anything's wrong until you blow.
Right, because companies like Vector have gone up to 13 times refined, to where and they did it for this exact process. They went to a 5 times, where I always wondered, why do all my butane lighters go out? Then I got a vaporizer. Then I found out why all my lighters always took a shit, because I was using Roncinol. So we start buying Vector, and they had the quintuple refined, and then all of a sudden one day I said 13 refined. I said, okay, I wonder why they developed that stuff. So that's
they have it even. They even have it more refined than
methods. They're running them through filters. The only way, legitimately, and again, I'll say this brazen, I know this is always nasty in the marijuana industry. Really, the only way to know is you get your solvents in your own shop and you distill them yourself before you ever bring them to your cannabis.
Just like no matter how much you filter water, you can't get it the same level as distilled water. It just doesn't work that way chemically. Same thing with the butane.
Yeah, you need to do your own distillation, separate it yourself. You'll find they call it mystery oil. It's like, wow, I thought I had pure stuff, and what's this mystery oil in the bottom of my recovery? That's the nasty shit through the processing. So even if you're getting good quality stuff, if you're a semi-decent extractor or higher, you're going to do your own purification. And now you know, if you're in a passive system, I now have 100% pure butane in my system, and all I need to do is change temperatures to move it through the different areas of the system, whether it's extracting or boiling, the butane off. And that way you're not leaving any of those mystery oils from manufacture in your high quality extracts that you're trying to win a cup with.
That is pretty awesome. That is super cool information for people going forward. And thank you for sharing this. I'm blown away. I love your concept. I'm sure everybody does. And this is the first time I've really got to talk to you and find out what you were all about. So,
we're just nerds. We're just nerds.
I know the guys know you, but I met you once on the show before, and we had a good time.
Yeah, I remember you. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but thanks for sharing that. Yeah, and because David's big into extracts and stuff like that, and I'm sure he's going nuts over here thinking about it.
Oh, I love it. I know exactly what you're saying. I mean, it is the most dangerous thing you can think of because it has no smell, and I stay as far away from everything as I can when I'm outside doing it. And I don't even use heating plates. I don't use none of that crap. I use hot water. And yeah, it's too dangerous.
People would be better. I mean, I'll eventually on here or somewhere wind up teaching even isopropyl alcohol. If you have to have dabs at home, you can do isopropyl alcohol outside. It's cheap. And as long as you have a purging oven, you can get the nasty out of there. But that's way safer than dealing with the freaky butane stuff.
Absolutely. And I've actually even done it that way.
Yeah, butane will get you a pure extract, but you just damn well better have the proper equipment, and you damn well better know what you're doing. And unfortunately, a lot of people do like 10 minutes of research. They don't actually know how to research. And unless you're in the industry where you're dealing with OSHA, and I come from a contracting background where we had OSHA on these huge job sites.
Yep.
And you damn well better have your shit in place or they're going to spank your ass.
Well, that's a good point.
They'll shut you down.
You can always build your shit like you got OSHA up your ass, and you'll be safe.
Perfect. There you go, Roger. Right, Roger. Yeah. So that's our passion. That's our stuff we're trying to bring. And then, we want to show people what the real ways to extract based on chemistry. If you were working for Dow Chemical, how would you do it? Or if you're working in a pharmaceutical lab, how would you do it? And then we understand you don't have $100,000 worth of equipment. What can you do at home, get badass results, and keep you and your loved ones safe? And so that's what we're going to hope to bring, in future episodes and stuff.
Cool.
That's awesome.
I think the safest thing is just to stick to flour, but that's just me.
Well, the coconut oil is harmless. It's truly harmless to make. There's nothing you can run into along the way that'd be a danger.
This will definitely get me out.
I don't know. I've heard some people say that too much coconut oil gives them a leaky asshole. So
anal leakage. I hate that.
Never failed.
There's actually some evidence to show that heavy coconut internal use long term can cause prostate issues, some prostate issues in guys. But that's if you live in the Caribbean kind of thing.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So that's our soapbox.
A tablespoon a day.
Yeah, I mean that you may. Then we're talking eating in a shit ton, deep frying stuff in it every day, not just eating. You can eat a little bit every day and be fine. And we're talking it being the main, grease or fat in your diet kind of thing. So on that, do you guys want to talk? Go ahead.
Was there anything else you wanted us to cover, or should we shut up now and let everybody else?
No. If you want to talk a little bit more about edibles, you guys have some pretty cool recipes for easy homemade edibles. Maybe some a little bit on the coconut oil, or maybe a simple guide for people that maybe have grown their first couple plants. They got a little bit of trim, or they have some bud that maybe didn't come out quite as good as they were hoping, but it doesn't have any mold on it or anything. What can they do with that, and how can they turn that into something that's usable in their own kitchen? Maybe
with butter instead of coconut oil. I value my prostate.
The best
But
Well,
The best highest
sunflower
ground.
oil is another great one, if aside from coconut oil. Sunflower oil and coconut oil have a couple of extra compounds that help to extract a little bit more terpenes and
Yeah.
cannabinoids than some of the others. And I'll let you talk about that, because you know more
Sure.
about this stuff than I do.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. What you're after, if you're going, I call it low and slow. If you want to have some good quality medibles, plan on having them in 2 weeks. Okay. Just plan on that. So you take your source material, and if you're after the THCs, obviously you're going to want to do your decarbing. And for basic decarbing, let's just say you do the regular oven thing. There are better ways to do it, but let's say you just do the basic oven thing at around 350-ish or so, and you're like 16 minutes or something in there. That will turn a lot of your THCAs into active THC. Then and when you're doing your decarbing, here's a bonus tip. Take big mason jars, okay? Put your source material in the mason jar, seal the mason jar, and then do your decarbing in the oven, hit your times and temperatures. You can put probes
Inside the mason jar.
And your terpenes are going to start to release out of your product, but you're leaving it in a sealed mason jar, so don't worry about it. Hit your time and your temps, test your material, and then let your material completely cool back to room temperatures. Let it go for hours. It doesn't matter. Remember, you're not going to eat this for 2 weeks. Do not rush this. So your terpenes will reabsorb into the plant matter.
Right.
So because you're using temperatures that are going to liberate them, let them in a sealed. If you can smell your decarboxylating, you're doing it wrong. Whatever you're smelling, you're not smoking. You're not eating. Those are molecules that you pay dearly for. I'm a cheap bastard. I'm going to tell you how to keep them. So you put them in a sealed mason jar. You let them liberate. They will reabsorb into the material. Then you can take those sealed mason jars and put your coconut oil in them. I suggest an organic coconut oil. The reason you're using a coconut oil is a saturated fat that does not behave like a saturated fat in your body, but its polarity is unbelievably awesome at pulling the things we want out of the cannabis plant. However, it takes time. It's not butane, it's frickin' coconut oil. Think about it. You don't strip paint off your car with coconut oil. You would use a heavy solvent, like a high hydrocarbon, like a butane. So now you have your jar, you've let it cool down, you put your coconut oil in there, seal the top back on it again. It goes into the oven for 5 days at 118 degrees. 5 days. Then you strain that oil out, you squeeze it out with a cheesecloth and everything, you fill it with oil again, and it goes for another 3 days. Then you mix both of those together, and that coconut oil, that a quarter teaspoon of it is, you are so there. A half a teaspoon of it, you're not driving your car. A full teaspoon of it, we're talking date rape. You're going to be grabbing yourself in places you've never grabbed yourself before. It's crazy strong. Do not mix it up with your CBD oil. I made that mistake once. It was frightening. I ate 3 tablespoons of the stuff thinking it was CBD oil, and it was scary. Like almost go to the hospital scary. So that's
one of the
really
reasons
strong method that you can have that is ultimately safe, and you can just eat the oil. You can rub it on your body. You can put it in body cavities. I can tell you reasons why you'd want to do that kind of stuff too. But it's so cheap, and it is the most bang for your buck at home that you can get. Period. End of story. I defy anybody to show me a better method.
Whenever you said internals, Steve had the best look on his face.
Well,
Read
I
the panel chat. Read the panel chat.
It's worthy of note that this method of making the
Who's
coconut
getting
oil
rated? Who's getting rated?
will also be
Ooh, they're playing my song.
it will
That's
also be
a
very
hug,
useful
Master Paradise.
for more of a couch locky kind of feel, because this converts a lot of the chemicals into
Oh, yeah.
CBN. So you end
Yeah.
up with a high CBN concentration in your final product. So you get that heavy couch lock feel, and it's more effective for a tired kind of feel than
Go
like
to
a
sleep.
sativa being bright and like it's not like a caffeine sativa. It's more like a sedative indica in that sense. It's got more of CBN.
We've watched people literally slide down the wall after eating this stuff. Literally.
Yep.
Well, a lot
It's
of
just
people
like it hits them and they're like,
sleep.
man.
Yeah.
What
A
are
lot
your
of people
thoughts on
can't sleep
crock
because of
pot?
pain, you know, so.
What are your thoughts on crock pot cooking?
Crock pot is very, very close.
Magical
However,
butter.
you can smell it cooking as long as you're cooking it. If you can smell it, those are molecules that you paid for that's not going into your body.
And it stinks up the house. Why do you want to stink up the house?
Or turn on the neighbors or whatever. By doing it in the sealed mason jars, everything stays in there. Your terpenes, your everything stays in there.
Gotcha.
If you paid for it, you know, if you want to give it away, give it to me. Just don't give it away to the atmosphere.
Makes sense.
So I wonder if you could do it in like a canning setup, you know, like where they had, because
Yes.
they do a lot of
Pressure
like in
cooker.
a sealed mason jar, you know, then
Right.
they heat them up.
Right. You
Inside
just
the
don't
jar.
need that high a temperature though. Canning, you're at a
Right.
much higher canning too. You
Right.
only need to be at 118 degrees.
Hmm.
There you go.
And
That's
you
the
go
trick.
for days rather than, oh, I can get it out now. If you want to get everything out of your source material, you're a cheap bastard like me. We got Scott in our family background. If a nickel went rolling by in front of us, me and Dorian could tell you the date. Okay. So if you paid for it, you might as well have it. And this is it takes time, but this is the stuff that makes the baddest ass medibles of anything we've ever made.
And not to mention how easy it is to work coconut oil into a food.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
And
you
it
can do
doesn't go,
savory or sugar.
rancid
It
like
doesn't
butter
matter.
or anything either.
Hot coffee, for instance. It's quite nice.
Much better shelf life too. Yeah, yeah. You don't get the problems of a can of butter with the shelf life.
Ah,
Yeah, this coconut oil is one of my biggest selling products. Actually, it is my biggest selling
But
product
do you wanna-
currently.
Do you
And
guys want to
they
touch
buy
on?
it by the gallon from me.
It's a great lube too. Didn't you sell it as a lube for a bit?
Well, actually, yes. For women, I was married to a baby catcher, OBGYN. And when women get into be my age group, the walls of the vagina don't stretch like they used to. So a woman can get excited. She can be wet, you know, breathing heavy and want to go. And yet, you know, you start dealing with the rod and it's just fucking painful. And it breaks a lot of women's heart because they love their mate. They want to do the sex thing. It's just absolutely hurts them. Well, you take some of this THC oil, half THC, half CBD oil, and you just need like a quarter teaspoon of it. And you, part of your foreplay, you put it up the woo-woo, and you give it about 15,
What's a
20
woo-woo?
minutes. That's that thing you're going to be spanking with your rod a little later on. And so,
Oh, it's my palm. Got it.
yeah, okay. Well, see, actually, this doesn't work for the guys. This only works for the gals. But it will relax the walls of the vagina, and it affects them a bit hormonally. They'll actually get a bit high down there from that. But most importantly, you get to go to the playground. So, and then your mate isn't like looking at you like you're Satan spawn the next day from having gotten jiggy with it. So I learned about this issue because of who I was married to, and I've done some personal experimenting with this stuff, and it's brilliant. I mean, absolutely brilliant. And so that's actually a product line we're looking at developing specifically for that, with a little applicator to go up in there, you know, and something to take in an app to take pictures with your phone, you know, to do science and everything.
I love this guy.
He's like,
Hey,
he's like the
science
love
should be
guru for
fun.
weed. He's the love guru for weed.
Yeah,
That's so awesome.
that's a whole new industry, man. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm buying websites every other paragraph. You know, I bought 3do.com since you've been talking.
Hey, here's a question on that note, since I think a couple people in this thing buy URLs on a regular basis for business related reasons. How many phone calls do you guys get about web development per day? I get at least 5.
I deal with it all day, so I'm usually making the phone calls. So, but
Yeah.
you know, but not, you
Are
know,
you
well, I mean,
calling Steve?
Oh, he's
5
the
times a
one
day?
calling me then, you asshole.
Yeah, he's calling you, Steve.
That's
oh,
because
no, I
we
don't
signed
call
you
him
up.
about websites. We haven't really done any website work other than,
I'm just
you know.
kidding.
Yeah, I do call on Steve though. He answered a question for me the other day. It was pretty cool. I wasn't sure, and I actually had something today come up that was kind of interesting.
You know what, Tom? Why don't you talk about that for a minute, because I'm working on trying to get us a guest to talk about that topic. Actually, we'll cut back to Tommy in a second, but since we're on this topic,
I'm not who's supposed to go forward.
so to clarify, Roger had asked about what kind of medibles are best for pets, and we're actually going to get a medible pet company. I'm working on trying to book one.
Oh, I happen to know some stuff on that.
Okay, yeah, okay, cool. Awesome. Why don't you tell us about it?
Okay, I happen to work with a dog breeder, and this woman is insane with her dogs. She has a double garage, excuse me, not a double garage, a double closet with multiple
Walk-in closet.
holes for all the dogs' clothes. But she used to breed Great Danes. One of her Great Danes, a breeding male, sold for $40,000. This is a dog. Okay, so
I got a
this
friend
woman
Dane
knows
Whiskey.
dogs.
Yeah.
CBD until end stage is the only thing you give dogs. CBD.
Yeah, dogs don't do well with THC. It really, really affects them, and not in a good way.
Right. We knew that to an extent. Yeah.
How about cats?
Isn't there an issue with it, CBD versus CBDA? Isn't the CBDA and THCA much better for dogs and cats than the CBD and THC themselves? Or that was kind of something I was told before. Maybe you can speak more on.
Yeah, primarily the THCs, the dogs don't do well with it. They do phenomenally with just a little CBD. I mean, it's amazing. It's kind of like giving a dog catnip, giving them CBD, like a mid-aged dog to an older dog. They turn into a puppy. They're happy. They don't get any wonky stuff. You can always tell when a dog's a bit under stress. But end stage, when the dog's got cancer and you don't quite have it in your heart to put the dog down yet, that's when you give them
Or their
THC.
hips are starting to hurt, because older dogs, they will often have hip issues.
Well,
So,
here's what
you
the
know.
question actually was. If I can bring this across, since you've done something and we were talking about it, I answer all the questions for the blog at Robert Bergman's ilovegrowingmarijuana.com, and then I also answer the email questions. Well, we got an email question from somebody the other day that said they had given their dog CBD oil, but it was allergic, and then asked something that that I really didn't know how to clarify to Steve about. Is there something with is there strains that would have a different protein or something, where I guess the allergy caused by a protein is what she's thinking? I'm not really sure, because it was a short little question. But
Great questions. What I would say, unfortunately, with our industry, just because somebody told you it was CBD oil doesn't mean it was. What was the extraction process? Were they doing it with these pumps? Were they putting something else in there? If it's a pure CBD, like I talked about making with the coconut oil, you can never hurt your dog with it. You cannot hurt your dog with it. Just cannot do it. So you take an ACDC or one of the genetics that Steve's developing, you make your extract with that. There's no possible way of hurting your dog with that. So
Okay,
make
now
it yourself, know the source material, know the method. But sometimes if something's not good enough for people, they sell it for pets. You don't know that it doesn't have molds or metals or anything like that in there.
That's a hell of an alternative concept on this whole thing. We were looking at the THC content for one, because we both believe that THC, in full force, like we inhale or ingest, is not good for animals, our dogs and our pets.
Correct.
And then Steve suggested THCA and CBDA all only to find and see if it could be like that. But she actually said CBD oil. So now that's a good concept. I will have to bring that up because our company.
Yeah.
And also, how much did she give the dog? Because dogs need so much less, not just body weight, but even per body weight, dogs need less than humans do. And so if you give them too much, it's not a happy dog anymore.
If you are going to give THC to a dog, when it's that time, what you do is you take your THC source material, you do the same kind of
CBD, Dad.
Extraction, huh?
CBD, not THC.
No, if you are giving THC, you
to a dog,
you do complete cold processing. You never take it up above 80 degrees. So it's going to take you 2 weeks in the oven at 80 degrees.
Okay, yeah, that's your slow process. You're talking about how you do it slow and safe.
Instead do not decarboxylate it. You want it raw. And raw THC is not going to get you high.
Huh. Yeah. Oh, so you want to give the animal the raw THC?
Correct. You want really cold process.
More like a matter like eating grass. Kind of like.
Yes, almost. That's how a dog does. Yes. Yes, exactly. Yeah. You can give a dog THC leaves. Put leaves in their plant, and just the raw THC that's not been decarboxylated, not psychoactively, will benefit an animal. But still, even just that, you should save that for more of the end stages for the dog, rather than just giving it to them because THC is good for me, it must be good for the dog. No, that's just not true.
Right. So we want to give them CBD when they're having that issue.
Yeah. They love CBD. Oh my God.
And you don't care whether it's
dog
CBD
is like,
or
it's like catnip for a dog.
But answer this for us to clarify. You don't care if it's CBD, A, B, whatever?
Correct. Okay.
So what about
for cats? Is it any different?
I haven't had that much experience with cats. I can't answer that responsibly. I just don't know.
I have a cat that's a pothead. That's the reason I'm asking. He loves eating leaves. And
do they eat the raw plant? The cats do. I know the cats do great with raw plants.
Cats eat raw plants.
Yeah, the cats love the raw plant. I know that much. We had a kitten around the garden at one point, and they love the plants. Oh my God, it was like almost catnip level of the plants.
Had to be removed from the grow area.
My cat's actually kind of nice. He sits at the tent and waits patiently, and I hand him one, and he's good for the day.
You guys ever see it grow, especially on Reddit, where all the lower leaves, maybe the bottom foot and a half, 2 feet? You ever notice how tall a cat can reach? Now you know why they put them grids at this height. So, so what about butter?
The cat's name was Lollipop.
Fish Ganja guy's worried about his prostate. What about butter extracts?
Butter extracts, you have to consume them very, very quickly.
Yeah, and I would like to point out, with the prostate thing, we're talking
decades
eating like 3+ cups a day of oil for that to be any issue. In smaller amounts, under a cup, coconut oil is actually very healthy. A lot of people just eat raw coconut oil as a dietary supplement to improve their health.
That's true.
Eating coconut oil in the levels that you would eat it with this, marijuana oil would not in any way cause the negative health issues of large amounts of coconut oil.
But fish has a really sensitive prostate, so maybe it's that.
That I suppose.
Probably needs a prostate massage. That's always fun.
Steve?
um,
Yeah,
so
I'm gonna have to take a hard pass on that one there, Tommy.
I guess it depends who's doing it for him.
Yeah.
Even
Did I have a
self-induced, I'm
glass
gonna
of wine
pass.
first or not?
Uh, so what about butter?
Well, butter, there's with the milk solids that are in butter, and with the instability of butter, it can go rancid very, very quickly. It's a saturated fat like coconut oil, but it doesn't have quite the same structure. A butter behaves like a saturated fat in the extraction process. It also behaves like a saturated fat in your body. The difference with coconut oil is it behaves like a saturated fat for your extraction process, which you want, but it does not behave like a saturated fat inside of a mammal.
Awesome. So do you want to talk also a little bit about how yeah, a little bit, sunflower oil is also a little bit better than olive oil if you're looking to do an oil. Do you want to touch a little bit on that?
Yeah,
You seem to know a little
sure,
bit about. I don't understand the science behind
sure.
it, but I know that the one's better than the other.
Here's the best rule of thumb that I can give you. If you're going to put cannabis in an oil, you simply cannot touch coconut oil. Period. End of story. Shut up. Unless you have other science, but everything points to coconut oil being a great medium to get these molecules out. There's just so many reasons chemically to use coconut oil. And if you want the butter flavor, like let's say you're making brownies for the dog, you put your coconut oil in there and you then can add your butter flavor in your cooking. But for a carrier for the molecules that we're after, butter does not hold a candle, doesn't even approach coconut oil, even though it's a saturated fat.
Is that silver arm?
Yeah,
I'm gonna mute your mic real quick, buddy.
yeah, I'm trying to mute it.
I can mute it for you. Okay. Sorry about that, Tommy. Go ahead.
Well, I think it's kind of at the end there. If the choice is between butter or coconut oil is your go-to choice chemically for what we're after, and butter is only for flavor.
So, do you also? I know some people also are big fans of olive oil or sunflower oil just because of what they're trying to make. Do you want to touch a little bit about maybe how they would go about that?
Sure. Olive oil is not saturated, A, so you're not going to get the molecules out of the plant that you want. It's a decent oil, but for the amounts of oil that we're talking about, you're far better using the efficient solvent. Think of coconut oil like a solvent. You're much better using the coconut oil solvent than you are any other oil.
And
no
if you're
other
looking,
oil is going to come close.
and if you're looking for your product to be in a different oil because, say, you're cooking something and you need that something to have a different oil that you're cooking with, you can extract it using coconut oil and then cut the amount of coconut oil with the marijuana
Correct.
into whatever oil you're using so as to get the because like the coconut oil is going to come out extremely potent, and you'll only need a couple of tablespoons to make a couple of servings of something, like a number of servings, mind you, because keep in mind you only need like a quarter to a half a teaspoon to get the job done. And so then what you do is you just take the coconut oil you've made and you cut it into whatever oil that you actually want to use for your cooking process.
I don't know if that's confusing. Was that clear what we're saying there?
It's basically
Everybody?
you're all commensurate with what you're trying to achieve in the end and how many people you're trying to serve.
Well,
I
it's clear to
guess
me,
my
mostly
question
because I
was.
screwed up once. Like the first time I ever made edibles, somebody else had given me the butter, so it already been extracted. It was an old hippie buddy, and I had edibles from him before, so I knew it was good, but I never actually made the cookies myself, and so I didn't. Nobody told me any better. He just gave it to me. He was like, "Here, have fun," and so I just looked up a recipe and said, oh, that's how much butter I need, and I used all that butter for the recipe instead of, what normally you would do is use, mostly normal butter and a little bit of cannabis butter. And they were,
Somebody got strangled online.
somebody had,
It sounded like they sucked out in a vacuum.
yeah, that was weird. Anyway, so I made my first batch of edibles I ever made were very, very strong, completely on accident. So basically what he's saying is when you're cutting it into your recipe, you don't have to use the entire amount of whatever it is. You can use a little bit of coconut oil and butter, or a little bit of coconut oil and whatever else goes into your recipe. But just your delivery method for the cannabis is...
Delivery method. That was a good term. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, now, okay, I got what you're saying. You're saying if it calls for X amount of fat or butter, you don't have to have all of it with the cannabis in it.
No, what if somebody's
fat?
Don't do that. Your wife will eat half a cookie and then end up rocking back and forth in the shower like she's autistic or something.
Yeah.
Not good. She'll want to call 911. If you ever heard the cop that called 911 on himself after he had too many.
Oh, yeah.
He sounded just like that. I had to talk her out of calling 911. I was like, no. Actually, yeah, it was it was funny afterwards, but not at the time.
Right.
I was high for I had a cookie and a half because, the normal edible thing to do was like, oh, hey, 30 minutes goes by and you're like, oh, these cookies are nothing.
Right.
So I had another half a cookie.
I'll give you a bonus hint. If you'd like it. When you are extracting into coconut oil and you're sending your stuff into the lab, I had a lab got me my results back within an hour. Okay? Well, I can tell you for a fact they don't know what they're doing giving you testing on medibles. When you bury these molecules in the proper oil, you actually have to leave your sample in the extracting stuff that you're going to put into the high pressure chromatography spectrometry machine. You have to leave it in there for 4 or 5 hours to get the oil out, to get the molecules that you're trying to test for out of the oil.
You're back out.
Coconut oil will bind it so well that you will know what your percentages should be going into the testing. And if you don't leave it in the solvent long enough for testing, your test will come back as if there's nothing in it. That's how awesome coconut oil is at getting the molecules. It binds the molecules so well that you can't do a regular test, because like if you just have a flour and it's like a methylene chloride or something like that is your main solvent that you then dissolve everything in, a flour within minutes is going to pull everything out and give you proper levels in your testing. If you hide that molecule in a well-done coconut oil mixture, in order to run your testing, you have to pull the molecules back out of the oil. And so this is where testing gets really, really freaky. You have to know those steps, and God forbid you do some of the special processes that I do that bind the molecule and make it even more bioavailable. I've had tests come back from the lab that basically say there's nothing in there, yet if you ate a half a teaspoon of it, yeah, you're ready for a Grateful Dead concert. Just like boom. Yet it comes back from the lab saying, oh, there's only 2 milligrams in there. No, there are 10 milligrams in there, but we did such an efficient job of getting them out and getting them ready to go into your body that if you don't do a 4 or 5 hour test, it's just simply not going to show up.
Right.
And these, again, are basic chemistry things that apparently the industry is not that hip to yet.
Yeah, because when these things bind, they form a different molecule. It shows up different in the machine.
That's why we started the show too, because so much of the cannabis industry and the aquaponics industry and all these other industries isn't based on science and actual numbers and data. It's like, oh, well, this worked. And it's like, well, that doesn't tell me shit.
Right.
Got a crow scolding me to leave.
Yeah, I feel like so much of it is, like people just deciding what they think is the best way to do it, or a way to do it, or some way that works. And then they do it and have any amount of success at all. So whether it's really successful or a little bit successful, they've still only done it one way, and then claim that that way is the best, even though they have nothing to compare it to. And that, like that happens over and over and over again. Like anytime, whether I'm watching somebody's YouTube videos or reading a blog or certain newsletters that we've touched on in the past about aquaponics and misinformation. I always remember that when you see somebody that's proclaiming something with really no comparison, it's really has no value to it. Like really, I feel like the only weight to it that can even exist most of the time is your own bias. Like there's really, besides that, you're just saying, okay, well, this is the best way that it could ever possibly work because I did it and I had this much success. Measured against nothing, it really, like there's plenty of old ladies that grow plants in their front yard too. It doesn't mean that like they're the best gardeners ever. And one of them might be the best gardener ever. I don't know. But if you have nothing to measure it against, it's really pointless, and you're just wasting a bunch of people's time, and a lot of times handing out information that really doesn't matter. So
yeah.
Speaking of which, the largest cannabis plants I've ever saw in Colorado were grown by a little old lady. She had some that were pushing 20 feet in downtown Denver in this little walled-in backyard she had. It was incredible. Hands down, the biggest plants I've ever seen in person were in this little old lady's backyard. She grew about 10 or 12 of them every year, and she had her kids or whatever would help her trim them up, and they were just the biggest plants I've ever seen.
Women make the best growers. Period. They just it's like it's in their DNA. I'm always amazed by them.
Hell yeah. And in fact, the first class I ever taught, the aquaponic cannabis class, I had a 19-year-old, and she was the oldest person in the class. She was 88 years old, and she invited me to her house the following weekend. I went down there and saw her plants, and they were the biggest plants I'd ever seen in person, and to this day are bigger than any of the ones I've ever seen even in California.
Women are gentle on plants. They have this, like they're communing with them kind of thing. Where like the guys, I run into a problem, I go down to the grow store, what's the poison I can hit it with? And they hit it with poison. Women, they kind of think of the plants as their friends, not the enemy. And they move slower, they move gently, they're okay if it takes 4 days instead of 1 day, unlike the guys who are impatient, and they want to be players. The women are fine doing it right, where the guys, they want the points on the board or they want whatever, which is, this is the reason I'm glad I'm a sissy, because I kind of straddle the bridge between the women stuff and the guy stuff.
We can tell by your hat. No, serious though. I think that it's definitely like a weird stigma that a lot of like, I don't know, I guess that even the term sissy is associated with somebody that's just not necessarily concerned with masculinity in its current definition.
Yeah. I want it right. I don't need it. Yeah. I'd rather learn and be right rather than like fronting like guys do when they're talking, and like, yeah, I'm all that in a bag of chips. I love it when somebody takes me down a notch. I'll give them money. You just made me smarter.
Well, that's because you're from San Diego, or you're in San Diego, where everyone talks out their ass and says they're 10 times better bigger than they are.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy.
Not everybody in San Diego, but it's a common thread in the cannabis industry in San Diego. How about that?
Yeah.
Common thread. Oh, there's a good term. Well, see, I think I agree with you too, because, well, what I've done in order to get to where I'm at in my career is I've done everything I can do to try to destroy the growth of plants to prove that that does things that don't work that you're not supposed to do. Like you say, you have to dispel, you can't just take it as the gospel and that this is the only way it works, because we all know this plant will adapt and grow to pretty much any freaking way you want to grow it. You could be successful as long as you nurture it. Like ladies, that's the word. I think that's what you're really looking for. They're nurturing, you know?
Yeah.
So as long as you nurture, because we're doing all kinds of, you know, but doing those experiments is what you're talking about. You do the experiments yourself before you can teach others. You can't just say, well, I read Jorge Savannah's book I know everything there is to know about growing pot, because you don't, because shit changed a lot in the last 10 years. I became a moderator in 2006, 2007, and been teaching ever since, and now run a forum, a major forum, and it blows my mind. These people that talk, they read, they copy and paste, and then they challenge you, and you go, well, you can't challenge. Have you grown with this, or you done this, or you done? No, well, I have, and that's what I'm telling you. I did it, you know, and it either works or doesn't, you know, because, and like, again, you almost get, I haven't published it yet, but I'm doing a thing with our genetics and all, and I've been doing, and I started out like a newbie. My first grow was, I wrote right up front, I'm doing this like a newbie that got his seeds and started them, and now, oh shit, what do I do? You know, and I actually did all kind of stuff, water stressed them, killed some seedlings and everything, you know, to prove a point that I could get them to recover, and look at what you get. Don't give up, and kind of thing, you know, because they're all freaking out when everybody's a new grower. So that's how, that's the kind of, to purposely do the things you're not supposed to do. But so you can, when you say this is how you're supposed to do it, somebody listening to you goes, well, I believe you, because you posted where you really fucked up some plants, you know,
on purpose. It's called, in the lab, we call that the null hypothesis. And a lot of people think about science is science tells you what is true. Wrong. The scientific method is actually geared for proving ourselves wrong. And that's exactly what you're talking about. I have an idea. I think this is such and such. How do I prove myself wrong? Let me run an experiment that, if this experiment is correct, it proves my hypothesis wrong. And that's the way to go about this. It's perfect what you're talking about, Roger. Perfect.
Right.
Yeah.
That's how I've gotten, you know, through my career to teach.
Yeah,
everybody's seen my transparency, you know, because, well, I just, again, right off the beginning, I was kind of weird. I just started a whole shitload of seeds myself, really, you know. But I mean, I had a plan, you know, and it all worked out because I had timed it. So I started my seeds and got my stuff. But I bought some cheap high bay light and an old 250 HPS self-contained unit. There wasn't even an LED on the market at the time. I started with a 400 watt 2x2 high bay metal halide and a 250 diamond self-contained unit, you know, and I had 18 seeds pop. And I made all kinds of bubblers and started in hydroponics and made a bunch of soil mixes and all like that. And so, like, well, people say, well, this is the best kind of soil mix to make for yourself. So I made it. You know, this is how you do a bubbler. So I did a bubbler, you know, and then I just kept doing stuff from there, and then proving it right or wrong, and, you know, and finding out, well, you don't do this next time, or you don't do that next time. And then I was able to start grabbing the attention of people higher up in the forum industry. Well, I was at cannabis.com, which is a joke now, I'm sorry to say, after it was sold from by Ron Bennett. Ron Bennett owned it when I was a moderator there, and when it was sold, and that's when it was great. It was like 5,000 visits a day, member visits a day. You know, and I mean, we were rocking it. You know, the cultivation department was killer. Had 3 or 4 or 5 great guys working together, and we just kept doing these experiments. I made all kinds of stuff. We were talking about arrow cloners. I made my own arrow cloner one time, but I digress. I'm getting way off topic here, but yes, that's exactly how you have to do this. You can't, if you're like you're saying, I want some notoriety, but I want people to believe what I say. and I want to have some kind of background behind it, you know, some research. Well, and I call it benchmarks. You were calling a while ago. I call all that a benchmark when you know, you do it hard way. You do it this hard way, but you have now. But so I have to continue. I'm locked into the whole thing. I'm doing a rock wool starter to a 1 gallon to a 5 gallon cloth pot, 1 gallon hard nursery pot, not a plastic, not a cloth pot. And then I go into a indoor growing only. I mean, pretty well, you could grow it outdoors, but I think you'd want a bigger pot, or, you know, if you're going to do this kind of thing. But it's all of it. And I'm using ProMix, and then I'm only using the base nutrient systems. And I've been doing side by sides of all the companies using the same thing every time. They all get started in rock wool. I use it, so, you know, I might use some liquid karma when they're first young, just give them a little jump, you know, cheating a little bit. And I'm sorry, damn Scotts and Miracle Grow and Botanicare and General Hydroponics Groups, they're all taking over the world.
You know, Roger, a lot of what I see is just a non-understanding of what the scientific method is. And I really hear you calling out to the scientific method, specifically proving what's wrong. That's what science does, is proves what's wrong, not what's right. And that's a great way to go about it. But unfortunately, what I see a lot of people do is they're running their experiments and they'll change 3 to 5 variables. Well, how the fuck do you know which one is what?
You don't have
only change 1 variable at a time. You know.
We were talking last week.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
The guest on the show last week from Kentucky State, our gentleman from Kentucky State, he was talking about the same thing. We said, well, why don't you do this to get rid of your root rot? And he says, I can't, because that's a variable. Then I don't have that data from start to finish, and how much root rot, and whether it just any, you know. So so exactly, it's kind of funny. This show, after following last week's show, is perfect, you know, in that respect. So yeah, so you got to have benchmarks. I teach that too. These guys go, oh well, like we've gone through a CalMag revolution for like 10 years. Well, that's only for the Lucas method, guys. You know, you only need extra CalMag if you're using the Lucas method. With General Hydroponics, you know, 3-part. That's where it all came from. And so every time we see we've taught that. We actually don't have that on our forum anymore. We taught our members, and we got a great membership, and we taught them that that's not the answer to every yellow leaf or any leaf with damage. Is not CalMag. You know, if you've got a solid, good base nutrient, you've got CalMag in there. You don't need to add, because the plant is only going to uptake the CalMag, or the calcium and the magnesium, to spread it out for you guys.
And then only if they have the proper bacteria in the root zone. If you don't have the proper bacteria, you only have a 1-to-1 uptake of the calcium, where if you have the proper bacteria in the root zone, you can have a 10,000-to-1 rather than a simple osmosis. And there's just so many variables. I know.
Right. Exactly.
That's why I love Steve. Like, if you ever think you know something that's going on with growing, just go talk to Steve for a half an hour. You realize, I don't know shit.
That's cool.
Yeah, he's pretty cool.
Hold on, I got it. I'm sorry, I have to move on for a second, you guys.
Silver 30. Go ahead.
I don't want to be hogging the show kinds of stuff. I always love, you know, listen to all you guys. I appreciate you letting us in here, you know, and we're happy to share whatever. But I always come here to learn. You know, if there's other folks that have stuff, I'm ripe and ready to listen.
Is there any questions on the chat, Steve?
Yeah, does anybody from chat have any questions on extractions or anything? We didn't really have any questions during. I think everyone was kind of just absorbing. All right, thanks. How can people find you if they want to learn more? I know you guys used to do a cannabis content and stuff.
Our channel, Dorian and I, and you can just see how much of a noob we were. We held nothing back on our channel. It's called OldFartGrows. lately we've not been doing a grow. Some things happened with the property, and I'm working on moving with Steve into a different project. So we've kind of put our grow stuff aside. So my channel right now has a lot of atheist videos. I challenge stupid in public. People that like would run cars into people in Charlottesville. I have problems with people like that, and I go out in public and challenge them. So that's what our latest videos are. But we're looking at getting back into our roots, which is the grow kinds of stuff. We're really excited to be involved in a project, with people that are way smarter than we are with the growing kinds of stuff. We've got some of the lab kind of stuff, but it's an art growing. So we hope to get back into this stuff. But yeah, OldFartGrows is where we are. You're always welcome to ping us on any of the comments on any of our videos. You can go into our old stuff. I keep track on like one of the YouTube programs to respond to stuff. You can also get a hold of us at OldFartGrows at gmail.com. However, if it's growing questions, there are people on this call right now that run circles around us. But if it's questions about some of the different extract technologies or the chemistry behind those things, I don't know whether it's good or bad. Our background includes a lot of people that do big pharmacological stuff. We have relatives that oversee clinical trials around the planet, doctors, nurses, researchers, all this kinds of stuff. So we have a little bit of a different angle. We're happy to help with, some of that stuff. But if it's growing stuff, don't ask us. There are people on this channel that, just make us look stupid. Point blank. So.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that. And we appreciate you coming in here and sharing all the information that you do too. I think it definitely takes a group effort, and all of us sharing information, helps all of us in the long run, for sure.
A rising tide floats all boats.
Super informative about the extracting equipment as well.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So, do you guys
lube too?
In terms of that, do you guys have any growing questions? Anything coming up in the grow room that you are looking to address, or? Old Fart?
Growing. Well, before getting into cannabis, I have never kept a plant alive. And I thought we were doing okay. We were fortunate to run into Steve in San Diego. We brought some of our flowers to him, and he said,
Paps.
"Hey, you guys are actually doing all right." But
Pap,
we're not growing ourselves right now. We're more lab oriented.
hey, Paps. I think he's asking
Yes, sir.
about what growing method we settled on.
Oh,
Or if you needed
So
help.
basically, after doing a good bit of looking through RDWC, and we also did drain to
Top down.
waste. We did some, top down drain to waste, and we found using cloth bags to keep a cocoa perlite mixture allowed the roots to come. They'd seek out and they'd hit the edge of the bag, and instead of on a plastic pot where they'd start circling one way or the other, they'd stop
bifurcate.
and they'd bifurcate. And
Right.
this is the same technique they use in trees, or when growing trees.
Fruit trees.
To take
Right.
and plant somewhere.
Right. So it's
And
called
so
air pruning,
this
what you're talking about.
it kickstarts the root system. And the other thing about the drain to waste is, unlike RDWC, you could keep the helpful bacteria alive in a medium. You needed a medium for them to sit on. They don't just swim around that well, apparently.
An aerobic
And
beat.
so, yeah, and so the beneficial bacteria, as my dad said earlier, some of the uptake stuff is like 1,000 times better, literally, because of some of these bacteria's help.
And aminos. Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
1 second, Fish Ganja guy's got a bow out. He wants to say bye.
All right, guys, I got to get going. Just finished getting dinner ready, so I will talk to everybody soon. If anyone wants to check out my channel, the link is in the show notes, and you can find me on Instagram at FishGanjaGuy. And yeah, old blah blah blah. Tommy and Dorian, thank you for guys for coming in tonight. Marty, Hog, Roger, everybody, thank you. I'll see you guys next week.
All right.
Take care,
Thanks for
buddy.
inviting us.
Later.
Later.
Sorry, Dorian, didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, no trouble.
Go ahead.
I was just saying that having the bacteria alive helps the plants very much because it's a symbiotic relationship. In addition to that, something worthy of note is however much. Sorry, I'm getting a little echo. Just give me a second. Okay, however much you want to grow is directly related to the amount of light you have. No matter what growing method you use, no matter what medium you keep your plants in, no matter what nutrients you run past them, doesn't matter. Light is the ultimate limiting factor in how big, how fast,
And CO2,
and
actually.
whatnot your plants grow.
And CO2.
So it's very
CO2, right? Yeah.
yeah, and CO2. That is true. If you have enough light as to where the plant's growing faster than it can soak up CO2, or if you
And
have a
then
closed
there's
environment.
ways
yeah.
to cheat. There's ways to cheat that limit too when you start introducing organically isolated plant hormones that you can produce. That yeah, then you can push that boundary well past even double the normal max growth rate. So some of the advanced stuff that we're working with on a commercial scale is that we can't necessarily get into detail on is going to be pretty revolutionary. We'll have a lot of cool stuff to share with you guys here before too long. I think next week I'll finally be able to tell you guys a little bit more about what we've been working on. It's looking like so.
Groovy.
And it costs a lot of money.
No, what to produce that or what
No, for
for a whole grow project?
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
For the kind of grow project you're not telling everybody about.
Just a few million, yeah. Just a few
Yeah.
million. We'll put it this way: that this grow, if it goes, is supposed to going to be one of the most expensive aquaponic grows in North America. How about that?
Yeah, I can't wait to come out there and see it either.
Yep. So we'll have more details on that here in the next few weeks. But hopefully, I'll at least be able to tell you guys something next week. I just gotta wait till I get permission. I was hoping before this week, but I think it might be till next week. I know I keep saying that, but I gotta just be patient.
Paperwork
why, we
takes
didn't-
time.
Yeah, paperwork takes time is exactly it. We that's why we didn't have last week in Cannabis, because I was in business meetings and local government meetings about permitting and licensing and stuff like that. So without getting into detail, yeah, we've been meeting with different groups of people to try and get this pulled off. So
But we'll have a hell of a show Monday night.
yeah, yeah, we'll make up for it. I apologize for skipping out this week. I just simply did not have the time. It came down to that.
Did you move that to Tuesday nights?
I'd love to.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
Monday's
especially because traveling a lot on the weekends or traveling shortly after teaching all weekend and stuff. I teach a lot on the weekends now.
And it's like, for me, it's like all day, that's the day I make all my phone calls and do all that shit and get behind. And, Tuesday be a lot easier to have afternoon to, like, because we're trying to evolve the show. And I really do want to start getting articles prepared for myself to bring up. And I need time. Monday's a terrible day for that. Tuesday would be much better for me, for sure. So I love it. Marty likes that too. If Marty's going to be getting in there on Tuesday. I vote for Tuesday too. Also,
And we might also do a guest or two here and there on Mondays as well. I know what was it, Grandmaster level growers
Oh, I
wants
love
to come
him.
on the show. Yeah, so he wants to come on the show, but he can't do it because he has his other show on Thursdays. So, we could always talk to him about a Monday or Tuesday night thing and work that out. He's going to be. I've been working on trying to get us some cooler guests, and I apologize for. We had a couple of weeks there where we were a little light on guest stuff a couple of months, maybe a month or two ago. So I got that all fixed up. We had these. I mean, tonight was one of the most informative things we've ever had, especially in terms of extracts and some of the technologies currently out there, and some of the downsides because of the equipment. I mean, that was super educational, and I didn't know any of that stuff. I don't know if you guys did, but that was really, really cool. So we're trying to get a lot more cool guests on, such as Tommy and Dorian, and we got Bubble Man in the queue. We got a couple of other the guys from Hortilux are going to come on the show, and we got a whole bunch of cool guests. I got a couple other people that I can't. We're still working on finalizing as well. So. Yep. His and her grows is going to come on the show here too. So we got a couple of other bigger YouTubers that are also have some pretty cool grow channels that we're going to get on the show. So
I got to say something about Grandmaster level, just in case this winds up on the general tubes. He is a badass grower, and he really spent a lot of time understanding flushing, and he puts points on the board. But please understand that Grandmaster level was a joke. Yes, he's a badass grower, but he is not trying to say he's Grandmaster. He literally started that name on the General Hydroponics website when you were putting in what you're trying to understand about nutrients when you're interacting with the General Hydroponics site. There was a level that you put Grandmaster level, and he jokingly started that channel with that name. He's a straight up guy. He does not pull any punches. When he makes a mistake, he puts it out there for everybody to see. So please don't be put off by his name like he's trying to say he's all that in a bag of chips. He's proper. He's totally proper.
Awesome. I understand that completely. That's the kind of the situation I've dealt with most of the time because of being in my position. So, yeah, I understand that. I see people like that too, that they try to be somebody by using a name. But he just used that when he logged into General Hydroponics.
Yeah, it's just a joke. And like, if you know him, if you followed him, he's totally worth following. He's straight up with the community. I have mad respect for him, really do.
Another new friend
What's
on
the
me.
show called? Grow Nerds? I remember serves me right. Something like that.
I don't
Grow Nerds? Yeah, I think so.
I think it's Grow Nerds. Or something close to that. I don't know. I have it bookmarked. I just forget what the hell the thing is because I'm one too many dabs in right now on some pretty good rosin I made.
I'm glowing some of my moon rocks right now.
Actually, here you guys had a chance to have some of my my bubble rosin. You guys haven't had bubble made rosin before. You guys have any feedback?
Oh yeah,
You guys had that today.
I got some feedback. That stuff that you put in the vape pen, that was just fucking stupid. Okay, that was just stupid. Holy shit, the cleanliness of it. I mean, I've worked with extracts. I've pulled things. There was a delicacy there that, oh my gosh, you don't get that in other places. I could tell that there were lipids and some waxes left in there.
Still a little bit, yeah.
But yes, yeah, and it's there, and it dirties the pipe and everything like that. Fuck that, because the taste and the smoothness of it was so incredible. It's like, yeah, you left the dirty pipe. Fuck you. This is
so
just
you stuck in alcohol for 10 minutes.
Yes, it was just there, and I wanted to chew it. It was so nice. I even took a piece of your wax off. I don't know if you noticed.
No,
we were in
fine.
the bus, and I took a little piece off, and I was chewing it apart in my teeth because I was trying to pick apart what was in there because I'm a chef, and that's part of how I do my research is I taste what's in there. And I was tasting it and I'm like, okay, it tastes like a plant. But it's smoked so much beyond a plant. And this is, I'm not an expert like you are or whatever. I've just had to smoke for years and years. What a treat. What an absolute treat. It was awesome.
It's the best, the smoothest stuff I've ever I've come to. And not only that, it's cheap, it's easy. You can't hurt yourself while making this stuff, short of dropping the drill in the bubble bucket. I think that's about the only, and electrocuting yourself is about the only way you can actually hurt yourself.
It'd be awesome if there came out an electric press, heated press that just automatically could go through a funnel of material.
Yeah. Let's invent it. Why not?
I have the website to sell it. So let's
Done. Nobody tell anybody our secret idea.
I got to tell you something.
Just can't all same shit all the time. It's not, nobody's not thinking the same thing here. Like, you know, and I'm not, I'll leave it at that. We'll leave it at that, not really mention anything.
I know I can't say anything about what Steve's up to, but I got to tell you, one of the things I respect about what he's up to is that there's space deliberately designed into all parts of the process that are geared to, okay, let's sit down and talk about the science. And and that he's also going at it from other aspects other than cannabis, so that when we say something about the cannabis plant, we can point to this plant, this whole species line behaves like this. And I've not seen anybody approach this with the mindset of something other than, I just want the money. And I've been watching what he's been building here. I know he's going to announce more stuff later, but just as a prequel, he's got his head in the right place. It's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah, awesome for sure.
It's been a couple years in the making for sure. Even you, I met you about a year ago now, so.
And you share with people when they help you out, and you share with them equally. That's something that a lot of people that start building something like this, and panels in this group that we're building, and you don't share, but they don't share back. They just act like
there's so many scumbags and rip-off artists and shitheads in the cannabis industry, and it's nice to be able to put together a group of people that aren't any of those things in the cannabis industry still, because it's so rare.
And it's just getting started.
I think we could all speak on that. I know.
Yeah. Well, I've been lurking on this podcast for about a year now. And I do. I just I sit back and I watch for a bit, and mad respect for how you guys interact with the overall community. There's no, we're all the bling with the nice artwork sponsorship or whatever. You guys just run a boring ass, these are the facts, this is what we found out kind of channel, and I just think it's awesome. It's where I go to learn.
Yeah, I think we try to keep it to sources. We try to go right to the people that make the products, or like we've had the reps from Mammoth P on when we want to talk about Mammoth P, because why would you have anybody else talk about it?
They bring the science. They bring the science, and I see that you hold that up. I think it's cool.
Yeah, that's what's credit to Steve. He gets all those people on. So thanks, Steve.
Yes, thanks, Steve.
You're the
Thanks
man.
for letting us all be a part of that, because there's we were talking about this amongst friends the other day. I don't know of any other webcast or podcast that get the owners of companies to come on and talk about stuff and give away science and give you 2 hours of their time, So it's pretty incredible to be part of this. It really is.
He just emails them over and over again. I think that's what it is.
No, it depends who it is. I mean, I'll email them or call them. It depends how badly that we want to get them on, or if it's a topic that I think like.
Spam for us, Steve, and we appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I go
but
out there and I hike my skirt.
they show up though, and see the thing is they show up, and I think what happened, all you have to do is say, look, well, we had just, you've got a list of people now. You've had, owners of major LED, maybe, I don't know how major they are in the industry, so to speak, but they're up and coming and going to be a major player. LED people, Mammoth P, Optic Foliar, getting, again, the owners of the company to come and get on a webcast or a podcast like this. You don't see that. I don't know any other shows that are getting that. That's what I was saying. Kudos to you.
Props.
Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable.
And that's why, and I've been trying to take some of the questions that we've even had on the show before as inspiration as to who we should get on for guests. I know that we talked about Kapow and Mammoth P, and we've had them on, and Spectrum King and Black Dog, and I know a lot of people out there, and we haven't had anyone that wasn't an LED lighting guy, so that's why I reached out to Hortilux, and if you guys have anyone else on the show you want me to reach out to, let me know.
Sun Systems up in Washington.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to go anything HID, period, end of story, it's the ceramic metal halide.
Yep.
Those are some badass bulbs. I've tried LED, I've tried double-ended, I've tried regular HPS, I've tried regular metal halide. Those, the double-ended ceramic metal halides, the difference I saw as a grower, and I suck as a grower compared to everybody here, but the difference I saw, I only ever grew 3 plants. I've never popped a bean. I am a growing robot. My son has so much more experience than I do. It's ridiculous. But just growing those 3 plants, so science, I only had those 3 plants. I'm not changing shit. I only had my nutrients. Changing those lights to ceramic metal halide, what I observed was, rather than when I went into flush where the plants would just yellow out, they went through full colors like I was back in New York. You saw the girl doing what she's supposed to do, looking like she would in nature.
And so you got beautiful end product.
Oh, and the smells. Oh, and the taste was terpene fucking heaven. I'm interested in what Steve's doing with the Spectrum King. I want to taste some of that and see how that tastes compared to ceramic metal halide. But there's real science on the table. You can research it in Colorado. They converted a big warehouse operation from HPS over to ceramic metal halide, and they got 2 extra cycles per year out of the warehouse. They cut their electric costs below half of what they were doing before, switching to ceramic metal halide. So as I was saying earlier, like what Steve's doing, I love that we're going to be able to just like, okay, let's get 4 of those lights, put them over here in the corner, and put up or shut up. I like that attitude. I like what you guys represent here.
Yeah, that's cool. I think it has it also goes to the spectrum of the light too. I think not only the cost wise, like you're talking about, but I think what I think brings out the quality. In the Spectrum King guys talked about this too, is when you have that baseline of spectrum that you get from a ceramic metal halide that you don't get in an HPS, which is like 95% yellow light. You don't get hardly any baseline, whereas with the ceramic metal halide you get a much broader spectrum, and the same thing with the higher end LEDs. Like the Spectrum Kings, and even the Black Dog is going to give you a much better baseline than an HPS light will. And so I've definitely seen the difference too. And I have some CMH conversion bulbs that I got for some old metal halide magnetic ballasts, and just swapped them out. So those lamps were about I want to say about $60 shipped to my house, and just screwed them right into my my metal halide fixture.
So I went from 400 watts down to 330 watts of ceramic metal halide, and the difference was crazy in terms of it was visibly brighter and yet physically cooler. Like you could tell. I mean, you could grab the
cooling. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Great advantage.
not only so basically you're taking, you know, that's roughly that 70 watts. You're getting similar amount of output in light. So that's basically 70 watts of heat. I used to run a 70-watt heater in my garage in addition to what I'm getting now. Most of that consumption was going directly towards heat. So, I mean, it's only going one way or the other, right? So it's either going, in that exchange, it's either going towards light or it's going towards heat when it comes out of that reaction. So if I'm getting similar light output and consuming less power, then essentially a good portion of that 70-watt difference that I'm not consuming now from the 400-watt metal halide down to a 330-watt, a lot of that is heat. So in addition to the cost savings of not consuming it with the light, you're also not cooling your room down that much more with your AC system. So that's why I think in a lot of cases, even though you're not cutting your wattage in half with just your lights, you're seeing more than a 50% reduction in consumption, because a lot of that is coming from your HVAC that you're not running nearly as often as you would have to if your lights were running hotter more consistently. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think a while back you meant to say that it was less consumption than your HPS. You know, because you didn't use, you're not comparing two metal halides, right? You're comparing your metal halide to HPS, because a minute ago
a ceramic, comparing HPS to ceramic metal halide.
Right. So a minute ago, Marty, you said metal halide thing. So
right. So my metal halide fixture, a 400-watt metal halide light. So it's a similar, just different. So it's not ceramic metal halide. So that's what a lot of your older 400-watt lights are.
More of a bench light.
I'm running
a 600-watt. I got a question.
Oh, go ahead, David.
Well,
that was David.
If Dave's not there, I had a question. As long as I have such ninjas on the line, what do you guys think about the whole Emerson thing? I'd love to, if you've done some of that experiment of waking the plants up, putting them to sleep with that 730 nanometer, I think it is, light.
Yeah.
That I've read a lot of stuff. I've not had any hands-on experience. Have you guys experimented with that? And what do you think it's worth?
Spectrum King did a whole piece on that, if memory serves me right, on the last episode they were on a couple episodes ago. Yeah.
They talked about it.
I'll check that out.
Yeah, definitely check that out, because I haven't done it myself. I've only looked at the stuff they have on their channel, and then also Groma has some stuff on his channel about it as well.
I like him a lot.
It definitely seems like, I mean, obviously I haven't dealt with it firsthand, so I have no real measure other than what I've seen, and you can go observe it yourself and check it out on his channel. But there definitely seems to be some merit to it, but I don't have the means to test it currently.
Getting back to what Marty was saying about metal halide too, to clarify for some of you folks that don't really understand what we're talking about in regard to the LED spectrums, like Spectrum King and all, where they were talking about a full spectrum light where all it has a full spectrum light, but it's not like a really heavily red spectrum or anything like that. It's more of a white bluish light that's a full spectrum light and has all the colors. Right? Isn't that?
Yes, that's correct.
Clarification for all those people that are coming into the conversation later.
No. So the Emerson effect is actually
not the Emerson effect. I was going back to when we were discussing metal halides. So sorry, Steve.
You just went back a little bit. That's all.
I wanted to go because I thought we were done with the Emerson effect. I'm sorry if you wanted to talk about that. I wanted to clarify to people when Marty was discussing the metal halide spectrum and the LED, the Spectrum King ideal spectrum, which was the whitest blue or purple light with the full spectrum, all the colors, and not a really heavy enhanced red spectrum or anything like that that people are getting carried away on. That's the same as what's being mentioned here with metal halides. The HPS you're saying with all that red spectrum or yellow, whatever you say, because yeah, it is actually yellow. They call it red. It's red, yellow, orange. But it seems like so the metal. So it's. I'm just making that analogy, and I'll move on.
Gotcha.
Isn't that true? I mean, isn't that what you were saying? I mean, for those people out there that didn't know what Spectrum King meant.
Yeah, basically the multicolor ones are inferior to the broad spectrum ones, and he went into great detail as to why.
Broad spectrum. I'm sorry, wrong terminology. Thank you, Steve.
Or full spectrum. I'm sorry, full spectrum.
Well,
Broad
it is
spectrum,
full spectrum.
It is
Yeah.
full spectrum. Yeah.
Yeah, which is more of a whitish blue or purple light.
Yep. And there's a lot of hard data to back that up now.
Yeah, it seems to be growing every day. Even
I mean, Fish Ganja guy just did it. What was it? 3 episodes, 51 or 52. Fish Ganja guy or 50, whatever it was, reason why Spectrum King was on the last episode. You know, his numbers proved it alone. It was 2% higher in CBD, 2% higher in THC. His yields were almost 3 or 4 times what it was off the Black Dog. I mean, it wasn't even a comparable light. I mean, it wasn't even a contest. It was like,
and it's an LED with no movable parts, right?
Yeah, no moving parts.
No movable parts. Love
I
Brandon.
I saw some of the Spectrum Kings that Steve has hanging today. He showed me the brand new Mother's Little Helper.
Yeah, those are over at Ouroboros. Shit, we lost Silver Arm. I was trying to cut to him real quick. I guess he'll be back again.
Oh, yeah, what I loved about that light was you could hit it with a fire hose.
Yep, they have sealed ones. No, they have a sealed version where you can literally spray it down with a hose, and, to clean them. You know, so you don't. You know, when you're done doing your yield, you spray the lights down too.
Wow.
Yeah, cleaning your grow space. So many people don't clean, and they wonder why they have cooties. And it's like, clean the fucking house. You know.
It's ionized water, and and your gravy.
Oh yeah, we were talking about ionized water, about keeping glass clear, so that you're allowing the photons that you want from the sky to come through. And the cheapest methods, like they use on the car lots. If anybody's doing greenhouse, I have a buddy of mine who is a professional glass cleaner, and you would not think so. But people that are totally into cleaning glass know things that we don't. And one of those things is ionized water. And there's a process and some stuff they can put on the glass, like particularly solar panels and the high-rise glass in office buildings that you don't want to put people on the side of them. But the bottom line is, the takeaway message is ionized water will sheet glass off really, really well. So if you're in a greenhouse, that's a great way to clean and keep your costs down. I don't know what it means for keeping your glass clean inside of an indoor grow. I just did the Windex like everybody else there.
That's a nice little tidbit.
Awesome. So one of the other guests I got we've been talking to is the Super Joint Super Show. If you guys ever watched that on Facebook, it's on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. I think it's East Mountain Time on Facebook. Those guys are pretty cool. They're one of the other guests we got coming up. Sorry, they just sent me a message. I wanted to plug them real quick.
Cool.
Yeah. What do they do?
They have kind of a funnier, more stoner show. And they have like more of a personality show. It's kind of cool. It's fun. It's still different.
That's what I was used to when I told you about the old podcast I was involved with on the dopefiend.co.uk now.
So what's going on in everybody's grow? What's going on with you, Marty? Just getting ready for this weekend? Do you want to mention that?
Did you I have one plant that's like
I think it re-vegged a little bit at some point, or it was supposed to be one of the ones in my side-by-side that was supposed to be the same strain, and now I'm 99% sure that I fucked up and labeled them improperly, so it's no longer a side-by-side. Because one of them, it's like, one of them's obviously Shiskiguri, they're both supposed to be Shiskiguri. So, and the other one clearly is not Shiskiguri, but it's just like complete bush. I don't know if you guys are in the Cannabis Growers group on Facebook, but I posted a picture of it earlier, and it's just like I'm training the plant to the plant at this point. And so I really need to flip it into flower. So you guys, I actually just recorded a video earlier today, and I'll probably upload that to the channel later. You guys, rest of you guys will be able to check it out if you're not in the Facebook group. But so it's it really needs to go into flower. So I just started doing that today, and then so we'll definitely be able to cover training to the scrog in class, no problem. We'll have plenty of content for that. And other than that, it's just basically training the net, flipping in the flower. Outside, I'm getting some outdoor fruit though, since all I can grow outside now is food. Can't grow cannabis outside, but I'm getting like lemon and cucumbers and some mini watermelons and lots of greens. I've got probably like 20 or 30 tomatoes on the vine, so a lot of the outdoor fruit is starting to come out. In the raised beds, I got lemon cucumbers and corn and all kinds of stuff like that. Tons of strawberries. So just go out every day and eat my fill of strawberries at lunchtime. That's nice. So I'm probably doing more just like fruit and veggie stuff right now than I am cannabis stuff. But definitely, like I said, getting ready to flip into flower, so we'll have more flower content. And that's always everybody's favorite, I guess. That's always gets the most views and stuff. when you got big buds, just veg plants, nobody cares about. So I don't film nearly as often when I'm in veg because it's fairly boring. But other than that, release some lacewings and some ladybugs, the normal sort of routine I go through right before I start flower. I usually go through my 7-day cycle where I'll do an oil spray, then water, then an enzyme spray twice a day for 1 day. And I do water in between on the days off. So, and I do this every time I go into flower. And it's the same way I treat bugs too, but I always do it going into flower just to make sure to wipe everything out. So I go through that 7-day process and then release the beneficials after my last enzyme spray. Because whether you're using like, Big Time Exterminator or Nukem or any of those that are enzyme based, that as soon as they dry, they're not harmful to your beneficial insects, so you can release them right afterwards. But if you're using like Kapow or anything that's oil based and is going to hang around on a plant for a few days, you don't want to release your beneficials right away, or they can just consume it and die just like any of the other bugs. So, or consume it on bugs as well. So they eat a bug that's covered in oil, same thing's going to happen to it. So try not to kill the bugs I pay for. It's kind of how I developed this process. So I go through that anytime I go into flower just to kind of clean anything up, anything that's hanging out. And I don't have like a sealed grow room. I mean, my kid's going out of there, my cats go in and out of there. So it's not, I'm always I always have bugs. That's just the way I look at it. Even if I can't see them, I just pretty much count on the fact that they're there and try to control which ones are there. So I just finished going through all the spraying and everything and release the beneficials. And then I'll go through with a microscope, check everything out, and see if I see anything crawling around. And I'll start that 7-day cycle again if I, see any bad bugs or anything like that. But that's gotten me through my last 2 cycles pretty well. So that's kind of what I'm in the middle of right now. And I had to wait for some more beneficial insects to come in. That this time of year it's so busy. My local bug shop here is just completely out. Like the only thing they had was ladybugs and I can't remember, one other mite that I have a pretty healthy population of right now. So not too worried about putting those out. But on Tuesday I'll get more lacewings and maybe some pirate bugs. I like to mix it up a little bit just to try to keep it fun. My kids enjoy checking out the different kinds of bugs. We got praying mantis; those were fun, but they take a long time to hatch and pretty late in the game for those. You got to time them just right. So yeah, that's what I got going on. It's about it.
Well, I tell you what, I wish you'd post some of your vegetable stuff in the gardening section over there at ILGM. Got all that stuff harvesting up. That'd be nice to get people interested in that. I think introducing them to the fact that they can grow food as well as cannabis, and you make that realization, really helps them buy into the concept a little more. You know,
yeah, if you go on my YouTube channel on, I think I called them Front Porch Aquaponics is what I was calling them for a while, and there's quite a bit of the food stuff on that one, and then the Backyard Aquaponics is the other one, and it's got like elderberries, lemon cucumbers, grapes. So what I used to grow cannabis in, so I tried to just replace it with fruiting plants. So it's definitely still fun, but it's really not the same as growing a nice big canopy of cannabis. It probably produced between 2 and 2.5 pounds out of the outdoor aquaponic system last year. That was obviously really, really high quality, and I still have. I mean, that's the same stuff that I have right here. It's lasted me all year, and so it's just disappointing to not have plants out this time of year. It's been a little depressing, to be honest. So it's bittersweet, I guess, to be in the outdoor ones. I do record videos on them still, and probably just not as often as I should. But I'll definitely, I definitely have some up. You can check out the elderberries and like all that different stuff. And I've just put those cuttings in this year, and I've already got fruit coming out of the elderberry. And I'm hoping the grapes will be able to put some out this year too. But they probably, in the few months that it's gone from just a stick cutting, I don't know if you ever got grapes before, but when you get them as a cutting, it basically just looks like a stick. So it's probably growing about 8 feet or so.
That long with roots on it, about that long.
Yeah, in about 3.5, maybe 4 months or so. So it's been really successful. It's in a dual root zone. So the elderberry, the grape, my son has a dual root zone watermelon plant that we basically set up a dual root zone pot, and he just planted seeds right inside of it. And I think he got 3 or 4 of them to pop, and that's all he put in there. So 100% pop rate, and they're mini watermelons, so they're pretty cool. We got one ripe one already. It was about that big or so. We've got another 3 or 4 of them coming out. So it's definitely fun, but just wish I could throw some cannabis plants in with it.
Yeah, that's sad.
What about you, Silverarm? What's new with you?
Oh, okay.
Since he's a little more time limited.
Oh no, I was going to ask Marty questions. Yeah,
I couldn't hear you.
Oh, what's new with you and your grows? We haven't had you on for a couple.
Oh, not much. Just I harvest I had in my basement, and I had troubles with root rot and stuff. My roots stayed wet. They stayed wet most of the time. So I was doing a cross with aeroponics, that low pressure aeroponics mixed with deep water culture. I had like almost 7 inches of water in the bottom with a lot of air diffusers. But it just had they just kept, and I had issues. I had they were stressed the whole time, and I had a good product, just didn't have the yield, and I was disappointed with it. But I had to try it. Now I'm gonna do some changes. Right now I'm trying to do different changes, different design. I'm just gonna do aeroponics. I'm not gonna do the deep water culture. And trying my outside with my pond. I had a little pond outside, and trying something outside. I know I started kind of late in the season, but oh well. And from that, nothing else that much. I got something. I might be moving to Oregon. I got a business proposition, but it's just not a sure thing. It's just a talk right now.
Been there, done that.
But we'll see from there.
You should talk to Marty and Pushkanj guy.
Yeah.
Pushkanj guy's moving to Oregon too.
I already live here, and I'm still
This
saying,
guy
already
just
lives-
moved to Oregon.
yeah, I live in Medford. Well, just
Yeah.
outside Medford.
Yeah, the three amigos right there.
He's moving.
Well, yeah,
I
am
might
moving.
talk to the
Don't
guy
leave it
that
alone.
moved to Oregon
If
and
you want to buy a house,
get Marty.
If you're an strictly indoor grower and you want to buy a house, email apmeds@gmail.com.
I told my realtor we just need to market people that are anti-cannabis. Be like, look, none of your neighbors can grow pot anywhere close to you, and they should just, upsell it to them. I'm sure somebody will pay a lot of money to not be guaranteed they can't be next door to any pot.
Wow.
Outside anyway.
That sucks.
Yeah.
What?
So
No, go ahead.
where are you thinking about moving to, Silver?
Just right now they're talking about it was Central Oregon. He didn't say specific. It's like a talk right now. We got just drawing some paperwork and drawing plans, floor plans and stuff like that. And it's just haven't got that far. And I just haven't had a confirmation. It's just a talk from another guy, and apparently, I don't know. It's a talk so far.
Aquaponics or
Yeah, aquaponics indoors. I'm gonna go if it goes through. I'm gonna go with Spectrum King. I already talked to him. Put for 20 lights. It's a nice system they got going for me. If I put it in the bid, let's see if the investor goes for it. And apparently the investor said yes, but I gotta see it on paper first.
oh yeah, how
Before
many times have we all been promised something, guys?
Exactly.
All of us.
That's why I said no. I
Awesome.
told the guy, hey, I want to see it on paper first before I even throw more ideas. I said I got everything drawn, but that's it.
Yeah, I've drawn up stuff for people in greenhouses, and then they
Yeah.
go, "Oh well, I had this come up, and I changed my mind." I'm like, "Yeah, I got 20 hours into this project." Okay, thanks. a
Yeah,
lot.
exactly. That's
Oh,
what
dude, 20 hours, man. You
I
don't
told
even.
me.
Well,
Oh,
no,
dude,
20 hours before
20
breakfast.
hours.
Are you
dude,
kidding?
Yeah, dude, that's
20
like
hours before breakfast.
I'm putting
That's
in
not-
like
saying, you know what
60,
I'm
80-hour weeks.
trying to be.
We know what you mean, Roger.
The
Yeah, I've been working on it for almost 2 weeks right now, and I just had to say until I get a confirmation, I'm not gonna work no more on it until I see it in paperwork or something.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked about it before too in previous episodes, where I've, even had them draw up contracts and had them sent over, and
Yeah.
everybody reviewed them and everybody agrees to them, and like, everything be in place, and literally like the day before I'm supposed to sign that contract, they just decide that was not going to happen. Now, obviously, that was right around Trump taking over and all that stuff, but you never know what's going to happen. So until the name's on the dotted line and there's money in the bank account, I just wouldn't count on it. I wouldn't pack any boxes and stuff them in your garage.
No.
Like I just do that.
No. I said no. I said I don't until I see it on paper. I can't believe nothing. It's just a talk.
Yeah, and there's definitely people that will use you for information, and even in
Yep, exactly.
that particular case, like they did pay me, some money for the time that I put, probably not nearly as much as the actual time I put into it, and went with somebody else that was
that's
hydro, typical nutrient synthetic grower, that I feel like was probably just selling a line whether it was a line of bullshit or a line of nutrients, or maybe that's the same thing. I don't know. Either way, obviously, when it comes down to it, they make whatever decision they make, and so until contracts are signed and money's in the bank account, it ain't happening, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, here's something that I find too, and I think this is probably something that, with Steve on his large scale and, all the higher commercial level, things he's involved in, where, like you said, pumping you for information. That's the thing that I find that I've become very wary of, is that people contact you and they want to have a talk and get answers to their questions, and basically they don't know anything, and if you answer their questions, they're off on a race to find the cheapest way to do it instead of using you, or they want to come and see what you're, like it's hard for, well, this is what I was leading it to Steve, like, say I grow, I've got a great system I designed myself for a greenhouse, hydroponic greenhouse, drip to waste or spray to waste system. Well, I had a guy say, well, I want to come over and see it first. But if he comes over and sees it before there's anything on paper, and it's kind of a catch-22, because actually you want to show your product work. But then if I went and looked at your system, I don't have to ask you anything more, hardly. If I see a system, I can go and build it tomorrow if I had the money to buy the stuff. Now there might be, I'll have to deal with parameters and all, but you know what I'm saying? What do you think about that, Steve? I mean, how do you handle that aspect of it?
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Repeat that. When people contact, we're all talking about how people contact us and how we're all becoming wary of giving info, like they prompt you for information and all, instead of they come at you like they want to hire you. I guess we've lost the momentum of my question, because I was
He was on a roll
for a while, and it was basically asking you about how you handle people that, for instance, say, all right, well, what I was just saying, make it simple. I go and tell somebody I want to design a greenhouse. They contact me. They want me to design a greenhouse, but then they either want to come see my operation or they want to ask me all this information on the phone. And the problem is, I think if I went to your greenhouse and saw what you were doing, I really wouldn't need you to tell me what you were doing anymore. Now, that's not everybody. People, most of this circle, we all probably could do that if you go and see what's going on, because we've all built systems, and once you build the system, it's just a little difference here and there. You got fish, you got to keep them alive, and you got special filters because of the fish, in the waste and all. So you got that difference in it, but in the end, it's a hydroponic system, attached to, right? So I was asking you, how do you get around, because we got into this topic where we're talking about people taking advantage of our knowledge when they're trying to hire us, and then they dump our contracts and stuff like that. So how do you get
so many fly-by-night people? You just have to force people to sign and pay money in order to actually get further. It's that simple.
You got to know where to draw the line.
You got to know where to draw the line between giving them enough to know that you know what you're talking about, and
exactly. You just want to give them enough. Just gonna give them enough. Just put the worm right there. It's like fishing.
Well,
just enough right there, so he wants to keep biting, but not enough for him to steal all your ideas.
Well, what if,
where you're coming from?
What if the guy asks you, says, but I want to come see your operation so that before I let you come over to my greenhouse and look at the, thinking about designing, do you tell him no?
Oh, yeah. I'll be
depends on who it is. Depends how much money they're talking.
Yeah. I tell them no, because I mean, what's the point if look, it's not rocket science. I mean, we've turned it into a hell of a science, but it's still not rocket science. It's, chemistry and aquaponics and hydroponics and everything, mediums I love the dual zones, and now we got the new lighting. But it's about in a greenhouse situation. You got this guy. If he comes over, if he's an intelligent guy, he basically, if he's got any kind of mechanical aptitude at all, he can steal all your ideas and do his own without.
No,
That
because the secret is in
part
the nutrient
mechanics and part
delivery,
art.
and then part execution. He
Yeah.
doesn't know your processes on how you're going about doing this, and
Yeah.
I mean, look at some of the ferments that Marty and I make. We don't give out the exact methods and deliberately, on some of that stuff because it makes a huge difference, and we don't always give out the exact recipes for a secret sauce, because that's how we get paid enough to keep a roof over our heads so we can keep doing this show,
That's a good answer. It's about the execution. Like, I make my own nutrient solution. So unless I teach them how to make the nutrient solution, they can wire a bunch of pipes together, but doesn't mean they can grow plants.
Yeah, that's the art. Like I'm so in awe of you guys that actually grow plants because there's so much involved in that. If you grow the plant and you give it to me in the lab, what I have to do, I have to know some math and da da da. But it's so easy compared to what you guys do. There's whole biosystems and multiple species lines that you're dealing with, where like in the lab, all I have to know is, I change that 2 degrees and I get the same exact result every time. The whole time I've been in this growing thing, yet protect your information, guys. You're totally worth it. Because when I have something that I can shake through the beakers, there's a huge difference between somebody who can see the plumbing and doesn't know what the fuck's going on than somebody who has no plumbing and can grow a perfect plant every time.
That's actually how I met.
Shows up in the extraction machine.
That's actually how I met OldFartGrows. Was at someone's farm who had no fucking idea what they were doing.
Yeah, it was like you couldn't do a reality show and write more wrong scenarios than you could walk in 10 minutes, and you're just like, are you fucking kidding me? You're letting 15 growers a day with all their cooties walk through the garden? Are you fucking insane?
That's the lesson for those you don't know what he's talking about. You never let anybody walk to your greenhouse from somewhere else because they could bring any kind of virus.
I know.
Kind of airborne, anything.
And I'm nowhere near your guys' level, and even I knew that. And this is how this guy ran his business. I'm like, this is not the real world.
No, well,
yeah, people call me up. I have a greenhouse. They go, "Do you let us come and pick your fruit?" I said, "No, I don't let anybody walk inside the greenhouse where the fruit is. It could kill it." Go on, brother.
Yeah, it was so nice for us. We haven't had a grow in so long. We could actually walk through somebody's grow space and not feel guilty. I mean, it's been like 4 months since we've had plants alive. So, we're wearing Old Spice. That's it. We're not carrying mites. And it was like Steve was taking us on a tour of a greenhouse, and I felt absolutely no guilt because I could not infect it. It was awesome. And that's just from the chemistry side of it, thinking,
You come to my greenhouse, you got to put on a pair of fucking plastic shoes and a jumpsuit and go through a shower and
Tyvek suit.
Rubber shoes.
I pay extra for that. Are you kidding? Okay. You guys are awesome.
I got a shower room. Yeah, you can't come in there unless you get your street clothes off and put them over there.
Awesome. Anything else new with you, Silver? You got any new content? Oh, looks like you
All right, Silver Man.
connected. He'll be back.
No, not really. Just trying to do some changes in the basement, but I just gotta come out with some ideas and stuff like that. Just and trying to do my outside figure out for next year. I'm trying to see how this works. Next year, I'm gonna make it bigger. Have some vegetables outside, like how Marty does. I want to add some vegetables so I can have my kids teach them the whole aspect of aquaponics. You know that about vegetables too and other stuff, not just cannabis. Because their dad loves cannabis, but that's not the point. But I want to show them the whole aspect of it.
Because he has to, not because he wants to.
You'll get there. Don't rush it.
No, enjoy
Yeah,
it.
little by little.
Yeah, my son loves the whole process of it too. Like his favorite thing about the watermelons he's growing is that he took the seeds out of the watermelon and saved them, and then went and planted them himself. So he gets the full thing, and he saved a bunch of seed. Like that's his new favorite thing is to save seeds from stuff. So we have like seeds from the pumpkins that we grew last year are growing in the backyard right now, and even stuff that he doesn't really like to eat, he'll eat it just to be able to get seeds out of it. So like bell peppers, he's not really crazy about, but if I let him save the seeds out of it, he'll eat it just to be able to save the seeds. So it's the greatest game and reward ever. You're like, okay, I'll let you save the seeds. Just you can eat it. All right.
Great life lesson. Such a great life.
Yeah.
I mean, he's gonna grow food the rest of his life now.
Now you just gotta teach him to be a sous chef.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'll be set.
Get all the seeds he wants.
It's really
You'll have the bombest dinners too.
yeah, it'll all be restaurant quality food too. Oh, I guess he's got to work at a high quality restaurant too. We'll have to figure
No,
that
you build a restaurant and have the grow out back.
Yeah, there you go. There's a place in Grants Pass that has that actually. You can, they have a big sort of, it's like farm to table, but like farm to restaurant table, essentially.
That's my dream. That's my dream.
And it's really cool.
Restaurant.
They only get like maybe 3 or 4 options on their menu, so it's not like they have to provide a lot of variety of stuff. And it's all seasonal. Like you can only get it for as long as it's available, right? They'll bring anything in. So whatever is ripe is what is on the menu, and it's really good. It's really good.
What they picked today was on the menu.
Yeah, I don't remember the name of it. I should probably plug them at some point, but I don't think there's more than one of them. If you find one in Grants Pass, that's it.
We got a place down here in San Diego, Del Mar area, actually in La Jolla. It's called Urban Plates, and they're kind of like a franchise setup, but like what you're talking about there, about having just seasonal available dishes. So they have their staples, their salmon, their chicken, their beef, but the vegetable varieties, you can walk in there. It's like, oh, what's happening today? And it's really just such vibrant food. And you don't know what you're going to get, but you always get fed well by eating seasonal like that.
Right. But we're talking about having greenhouses out back where you've grown the tomatoes and the cucumbers and the zucchini or whatever it is you're serving.
Well, that's just tits right there. That's totally tits.
That's my dream, is to have like a bunch of small greenhouses out behind a building where I can serve. That's what Marty was saying. They've got that, and that's what they're seasonal. They grow the food. Well, I'm sure they don't do grow the protein maybe, but they're growing all the vegetables.
Right. Yep. Yeah, that's true. And I know they did have. I know they have some animals on site, but I'm sure they don't have enough to meet all that stuff, because they do like Thanksgiving turkey dinner. We did that one year there at their place, and it was really good. And obviously, there's only one thing on the menu there. You get maybe a couple options, but it's all very feels all very organic, I guess, in terms of it. And you can go out and walk through, like you can tour the garden. They even have like a rose garden you can walk through too. It's pretty cool. And I believe the farm itself has been in production for a while, and they added on the restaurant sort of separately. So it's kind of neat that that they have enough production. It's like they have just enough production in their fruits and vegetables and stuff to their cost is mainly buying, like you were talking about, the stuff that they can't grow there locally, which is mostly the protein, mostly the meat that they source from, as local as possible. We do have Foster's here, relatively local for chickens and stuff like that. And I know a lot of their dairy products come from the local dairy here, so that's pretty cool. So they do a lot of stuff like that. Basically, as much as you can. I think that's kind of what you're talking about, right, Rogers? Basically, just as much as you can produce there on site.
Yeah, well, I was talking about when you ate the salad, everything in the salad was grown on site, and we might go down and get local fish, like a daily fish, or like you could have, like you said, you ate a turkey dinner. So in my eye, we would go and have a turkey pen built, a nice big turkey pen, and raise those turkeys all year long until it was Thanksgiving, and slaughter them. And
I don't know if they do that or not. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. I'm not sure. It would be cool for sure.
Yeah, and you could have fish tank. You could actually have, go ahead, brother.
I was just going to say, have you heard of how a lot of the turkey farmers are having to actually pay to raise turkeys because they're contractually obligated to provide a certain number of turkeys at Thanksgiving? But the price they're contractually obligated to sell them for is so low that it costs more to raise the turkeys than they can sell. And they, in order to keep their farm, legally have to raise the turkeys. So they have to do other jobs just to raise turkeys for Thanksgiving.
Well, the sad fact is that's farming. That is what farming is all about in the United States right now. It costs you more money to grow food than you can sell it for to the stores. Your best bet is to grow it for yourself and go find an open market where there's no middleman, and you can get 75 or 80% of what you would get at maybe. You get more than you get. Like I grow for Whole Foods. I get decent money for Whole Foods, but I can get more money if I went and set up a stand or bought a spot at a farmer's market. And it's sad that way. There's just no margin. They don't want to pay you anything. And especially if you're specialized like hydroponics, they want to treat you like a conventional grower. They want to teach you, and that's got to change too.
You got to tell them, bite me.
Yeah, but the thing is, they don't buy your food then. So you grew a bunch of peppers and tomatoes, and nobody's going to buy them. So you've got to sell it to. You can put your own kind of price on it to an extent. And in general, the type greenhouses we run, I was taught when I first started, it cost $1 per pound to just run the greenhouse. So you have to, whatever you grow, you have to get at least $1 a pound. So if you can get anything more than $1 a pound, then that's supposed to be profit. Unfortunately, the $1.50 doesn't really cut it for you to live on or make any ends meet. You're basically just saving up money to go and good night, Marty. You're basically saving up money to buy supplies and nutrients for next year. And it's sad. It's good to see that we're getting somewhere. We need to do ourselves, even in the cannabis industry. And it's so nice that Steve gives us a format to talk about vegetables too, and another thing besides aquaponics. Because we need to get the kids, we need to get young people involved early, like Marty's son and your sons, Silver, I'm talking about doing all that stuff. You got to get that instilled in the young people today early, because the average age of farmers is in the late 50s to early 60s. And I think that's going to be changing, because people are getting much more aware, and there's more and more, there's just a spread. It's funny, as cannabis production spreads across the nation individually, I feel like all those people will start growing food. I don't know. Anybody got an opinion about that?
It makes for better cannabis. If nothing else, it makes for better cannabis.
And I think another part of it is in a lot of urban environments, the average person doesn't really get introduced to growing that much. and somebody who's like been removed from that and is into it for a different goal finds out how easy it is and goes, you know, I really enjoy good food, might as well.
Well, I think that's just more of a, I've got space and I just gave, once you start getting into hydroponics and aquaponics, you start wanting to build systems and grow more plants. And eventually you just can't grow more pot plants in a lot of instances, or it's illegal. So you grow food, you know, but I see that I'm finding that we added a gardening section. It's not really, you know, like smoking hot, but it has provided a lot of people with a side, you know, looking there on the side, you know, and they talk about it, and they show different systems they built at home to grow food. I think just the idea of, they weren't growing anything, they start growing cannabis for medical reasons, and then all of a sudden they're growing tomatoes and stuff to put on their table, and they know how it was grown and how it was fed, and it's healthy. And
See, that's one thing I love about.
Roger, can I ask you something?
Sure.
Like I've gone through a number of these shows, and I'm aware of your experience and stuff. So you have this knowledge, and like you were talking earlier about, is a big investor going to deal contractually with me? Is it a better model for you to be a local hands-on expert in that I know what, you know, where, what stores, you know, get whatever, and helping people set up their own little environments? Because, you know, I've come from a background of some, you know, marketing kinds of stuff. And I've learned that if you can help somebody make $3, they'll gladly pay you $1 for helping them make $3. And maybe your stability comes more from helping the average day Joe get that 6-plant plot in their backyard. And it's also providing all the enjoyment of growing food, and like, you know, other folks were talking about, my biggest thing with my kids now is dealing with the seeds, and, you know, that whole family interaction. Maybe instead of just going the farming side of it with somebody who's going to like pay on a contract, maybe we need to be serving more the people who it becomes a lifestyle accessory. Is that a good word for it?
That's my business concept. Exactly. My business concept is not giant. That's Steve's business is doing a giant multi-million-dollar thing. I don't have the infrastructure or the legality in my state to do anything like that.
But it sounds like you could help a lot of people. And
Right.
if you help a lot of people, what I've learned, a couple of those people at least are going to, you know, throw you some dollars.
Right. So, but the point, what I was getting at, so that's what I'm talking about. When I get to a person that just want, and when I said greenhouse, I'm talking about commercial greenhouse, but it could be a 12 by 16 greenhouse. I'm just saying a greenhouse. Yeah. Basically, you said a grow plot. I would be glad to do a fertigation, drip to waste type system, which is irrigation with fertilizer pumped into the root zone through tape, through drip tape. Mm-hmm. And I try to set people up with that. And again, that's what I'm talking about. If I let them come over and just see it, then they could go and do it again. Like it was the functionality.
I don't believe you're saying. I'm going to challenge you on that. Please accept the challenge and respect. You know what you know so much. It's a natural fault in the way we think that you assume other people know what you know. Just seeing the plumbing does not mean you can ride the high wire in the circus. Okay.
Right, and you can look this up.
You bring so much more than the actual structure of the plumbing. You bring people, you enable people to use what they saw. If they just see it, I mean, I've killed crazy amounts of shit. What you've got is valuable. Maybe that's the main side rather than worrying about if they see the plumbing. I don't know. I'm just, you know, stabbing in the dark here.
I agree with you. That's why I told a couple people, I said, I could build you an engine, but if you don't know how to, the experience that I bring, the trouble that I learned through my things, I said, you might know how to run it, but it's never going to run right.
Yeah.
Because I could build it. You could see how I built it, but without the experience, without knowing where to hit when something goes wrong, or what to do when something's not going right, something. I said, they don't know that. I said, I could make it look easy in the video, but just because I make it look easy, it's in real
Doesn't
life,
mean
it's
it
not
is
that
easy.
easy.
Right, right. You're just that good. Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
No, I thank you guys. I appreciate the kicking in there and trying to build me up tonight on that. But I agree with you. I agree with you for the most part. I'm just saying it was hard, and how does everybody deal with it? It's hard to say go, like we were talking about. Basically, the whole conversation started with, we spend all this time prepping for this customer that dumps us in the end. And how do we get around that was really the original question.
You don't. It's part of the business.
Yeah, it sure is, and it sucks.
It does, but it's just how it is. It's just that simple.
Yeah, and Steve, I didn't mean to cut you off early, my friend. I did not mean to shut you down earlier. I did not, because I know you. Yeah, I could. Well, I've done houses like you're doing what you're doing. I've done takeoff on houses where the takeoff after hurricane repair was $233,000. So I kind of know, and then get turned down after you spent all this time and like visits after visits and trying to close the deal. And so I'm not, I've never done $1 million or a multi-million-dollar thing, but I do respect everything that I know what you're trying to do. I do. I didn't mean to cut you off earlier on that. So everybody, he's the king of the big ass gross situation there.
No, I'm not the king, but I'm trying to take a stab at one.
And we're all behind you, brother. We're all behind you.
100%.
It'll make more sense here pretty soon.
Yeah, because we're talking we're talking about a ghost right now. We've been talking about for months. So.
I think what's new with we haven't heard from Hogmaster. What's new with you this week? And then I got to wrap things up because I don't want to go much more than 10 more minutes because it's getting a little late here.
Yeah, I'm actually
kind of the people I'm staying with.
Finished 2 grows here last week. I got a Gorilla Glue done. I got a lemon ice done here this week. I'm hoping to have a ILGM cheese done, a super silver haze done, and a gold leaf done, and a blueberry auto. So happy times this week for me.
Where's your house at?
In the middle of nowhere, unfortunately.
Dang.
This is an authentic blueberry from Amsterdam, a clone from a blueberry from Amsterdam, the original blueberry that was developed by Dutch Passion that came through our network, and I'm sure that is part of our network where we've got the genetics, and this is a nice blueberry clone.
I actually ended up filming mine, and it ended up with like 15 colas on it. It's huge. It's almost as big as one of my just female plants. And it's an auto. I've had very good luck getting 3-4 ounces off of an auto indoor. So
nice.
Wow.
Yeah, right now I got that blueberry from DJ Shores, the original blueberry too, and I'm keeping it.
But that's all that's new with me, man.
I had this one flavor that was amazing once. It was blueberry muffins. It really tasted like blueberry muffins, exactly like blueberry muffins.
That's a strawberry kush.
Nice.
You said you got a blueberry, DJ Shorts original blueberry.
Yeah,
I thought, and you said his original blueberry.
Yeah, he has two. He has the true blueberry, and he has the original blueberry. I think that true blueberry, I had it before, and it's more of a chocolate Thai, and it's awesome. Don't get me wrong, it's good, but I don't have the blueberry taste.
Well, blueberry
this original blueberry.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Roger.
A blueberry is a true indica, really hardcore true indica.
Yeah, this one's from DJ Shorts. I know I ran that true blueberry, and this one is the original blueberry. And
Okay.
so far, I like how it's going.
Well, do you have can you weigh on this, Steve? Am I right or wrong? I mean, but the original blueberry, actual real genetic,
I don't know.
were from Dutch Passion, invented and by Dutch Passion in Amsterdam.
I think so, but
The blueberry I just showed you was from.
Well, I don't know. I know Mark Emery back in the day had a couple of good blueberry strains too. That
I think
hit
that
these.
what I heard
from
DJ
Amsterdam
Shorts was the one that came out with blueberry. That's what I'm not for sure 100%. I'm saying the facts, but that's what I heard from a couple of friends of mine that they're researched it themselves, but I can't say for a fact that is true.
Is Dutch? I haven't checked in a long time because I haven't needed to. Is Dutch Passion Seeds still open? Because at Dutch Passion Seeds, when you go and look at blueberry, it says this is our own personal strain. We originated blueberry. You know, like the original genetic.
Why don't you get Dutch Passion Seeds on?
I'm going to see what I can do because, in my opinion, the original blueberry was developed by Dutch Passion, which is the cause of Overgrow.com being shut down years ago, 11 years ago. They were shut down because they were selling Dutch Passion seed bank seeds in America. Just like Mark Emery. We need to get Mark on the show. That's right. You reminded me, we talked about it before. We need to get Mark on the show.
He would be one hell of a guest to get on the show.
Yeah,
that would be really cool.
In fact, I got to get on that because I forgot that I said that I did have contact.
He's in some legal limbo again, isn't he?
I'm not sure, but I did have contact.
With his dispensaries and shit, and there's some kind of legal issues again.
So, anyway, that's interesting though. But my original thing when I first started was my first strain I ever wanted that I read what I really wanted because we wanted to get a pain bed for my wife. We decided on blueberry, and we were going to get it from Dutch Passion, but then I started working for a company where I got seeds. So it was one of those kind of deals where, because I knew how to grow, well, it's kind of all at the same time. It was all, I don't know. I just somehow I jumped both feet in and landed, and somebody gave me a job, you know. But you know, so, well, we don't have to beat that dead horse, you know. But I challenge on that one. Dutch Passion invented blueberry. So
dead horses are the easiest horses to beat. Don't worry about it.
And I love horses. That's
why you only beat the dead ones.
Yeah. Because if you love horses, why beat a live one?
Right. All right. Well, Steve wanted to cut the show short, and I went off on another tangent. So. What time is it? Midnight? Is it midnight yet?
Yeah, like 12:30, I think.
Yeah, we'll wrap things up. I got a Hogmaster up on the thing here. A little sneak preview of his grow.
Oh, he's putting
nice.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he's been doing great. He's done a bunch of different genetics for my LGM. It's been pretty cool. He even won the Bud of the Month contest one month. So very cool. Yeah, that was something that was real nice of Robert and them to let me do. I started it to start. I did it for two reasons: to build interest in the genetics even more than we already had, and also to get a bunch of pictures of our genetics for identity purposes. You know, so when people say, well, what does it look like or what does it yield? Well, now everybody's trying to, you know, they're competing and they're bragging about their yields and, you know, they're showing pictures in their journals. And so we've actually been adding some of the grow journals to the blog as articles like a blue-green grow or something.
So I wanted to plug Marty real quick. If you guys want to check his content out, he's on AP Meds on YouTube or AP Meds on Patreon. And then I'll let everybody plug themselves, and then I'm going to plug my class one more time and my channel, and we'll get out of here. So I got to wrap things up. So, yeah, how do people find you, you guys, everyone? Go ahead.
Oh, they can
Fart
find me
Grows
at
on
Silver Arm at YouTube 32 or at Facebook, Silver Arm Aquaponics. And any questions that could help you, I would try. And that's the only way you guys get a hold of me if you want.
Very
And
cool.
nice having me, Steve.
Anytime, man. Always love having you on the show.
Yeah, I want to shoot the shit with you, man. I'm going to try to get a hold of you where we can have a private session sometime.
That'd be cool.
You know, if you don't mind. You got, yeah, we got some ideas kind of run together. I'd like to discuss with you. All right. Well, I'm at ilovegrovingmarijuana.com, and I'm so lucky to run one of the greatest forums in the world involving cannabis. We've got over 500 articles in our blog, and we've got some of the best genetics out of Amsterdam on the planet, and we give 100% guarantee on all that. We've now this past year come up with some great nutrients, which I have to say, it's not organic. Well, we do have an organic line, which is very nice. I haven't yet been able to grow with that because I'm in the middle of a whole big process of trials. So I'm using the Flower Power water soluble nutrient, and I've had the best results against just about every nutrient I've ever used, including pH3 Park, Dutch Master Advanced, Dutch Master Gold, Botanicare, Fox Farm, and I don't know, there's one I'm leaving out, but it's just amazing. Without adding anything, that's what I was trying to prove. Can I do nothing but put it in Pro Mix and plant it and grow it, and it's been fantastic. And I've got so many people together with trying the same kind of experiments on the forum, which is really cool. And that's all. Sorry, Steve. I know. I go.
I gotta get running. What about you guys there on the end?
You can find me at ilovegrovingmarijuana.com. Hogmaster. I'm a mentor. I'm willing to help anyone who needs any help with anything. So.
Awesome.
Sign up and see.
And what about you guys, Tommy and Dorian?
Oh, us, yeah. We're OldFartGrows. We're more nerd than growers. We really like hanging around here and listening to real growers.
Your guys were tremendous tonight.
I'm gonna try your vagina cream. I'm gonna make that. That was awesome.
Yeah, don't sell
well, please enjoy. Please, we love it when people enjoy.
Well, I wanted to say one thing. I know I keep talking, but one thing I wanted to say about you guys. I mentioned how great the owners of companies that the show is, because Steve gets these owners of these companies come on, and we get to learn so much that we would never learn otherwise. No other shows do that. And then you guys come on, and I'm gonna tell you, this is what I got to say. There's 3 or 4 nights where we didn't have a company guest. We had friends, and guys, the shows were just as good. And the information you provided everybody about concentrates and medibles tonight was fantastic. Thank you so much.
Yes, it was.
The innards and the outards of them. I enjoyed both.
There's so much involved in this industry. I don't think any of us are ever going to be able to understand it all. You know, like we kind of know our little side of it, but man, we just get amazed at listening to people who really understand the dynamics of growing, because you're the guys that put the best stuff in the lab that we get to extract, and it's just really interesting to kind of know the background of that kind of stuff. So
yeah, and you got the next
involved with this
generation
kind of
sitting
stuff.
next to you.
Yeah.
You have the next generation sitting next to you too. So that's
Oh,
as long.
He's 10 times smarter than I am. I can't even tell you.
Hell, my 10-year-old's 10 times smarter than I am, and I don't know what that's saying.
We could tell.
All right, thanks everyone for watching. You can check out my channel at Potentponics. You guys can also find the show on Potentponics on SoundCloud if you want the audio only version. And then be sure to check out, if you're interested, check out potentponics.com under the the shop section if you want to check out the online class, or check us out down here at Half Moon Bay or Boros Farms this weekend in Half Moon Bay, California, just about a half hour outside of San Francisco. And that'll be August 19th and 20th, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. each day. And we do have a little after hours hangout session on Saturday night. So, if you do come to the class, we do go hang out for a little bit afterwards on Saturday. So, be sure to come out and join us if you're in the area. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. Take care.